Too late. It is. You young kids can't keep up, I guess. I don't know.
Stick to the agenda.
Hugh Hefner's got nothing to do.
Number 3 of ours was made in Mexico.
What? 2024, welcome to our 9 a.m. Board of County Commissioners meeting. Can you tell we're getting ready to go on to a 2-week break here soon after this week? So anyway, thank you all for joining us. All 5 commissioners are present. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So we will kick off with John Poole.
Oh, wow, thank you. Well, has the board and staff had an opportunity to view the federal agenda?
Yes.
The what?
We have.
I'm gonna go back to the conversation you and staff were having, guys. Anyway, so I suggest we just go, Jeff and I were talking about this, let's just stay really high level. And then maybe we can just save questions for the end, if that's okay. That's not it, all right. So in all the conversations we've had over the last 6 months to a year, it's really been circling around different verticals that you'll see represented in the agenda. First one being housing, and Commissioner Waldrop and I have been having an ongoing conversation. We went to DC, talked to multiple staffers about some of the housing issues that are important to the county. First and foremost, I don't know if Pavel or others from the department are here to see them. The Department of Commerce applied for a really big housing grant through the Washington, through HUD. And every single county was required to kind of put together a project list, a punch list of what, they would like to see. So we're waiting, I think in the next, hopefully, week or so, potentially pushed because of the holidays. We're gonna see if we got any funding from the Price grant. I believe we requested $19 million. The Washington State ask was obviously much bigger. The design was for mobile home parks that the county's been working on for a long time. Commissioner French, I know you've been doing a lot of work on this. So something for us all to keep an eye on, but it is a great opportunity that even if we're not successful this year, probably something we want to continue to think about. Should the department feel like that's a good idea and we have capacity. I don't want to speak for the department. We've got some programs that Commissioner Waldrop and I have been talking about. See them right there. I don't have to read them out for you. What we did do, thanks to Pavel and the team, we did extrapolate information about how much money the county receives in those programs. They're typically formulaic. So there's not a lot we can necessarily do to effectuate them. There are some nuances that we talked about, but really the purpose here is when our congressionals go to advocate for these programs through appropriations, reauthorization processes, we're there as kind of validators to be able to tell them, hey, this is why it's important to the county. And I think our congressional really appreciate that. Well, did I capture that? Okay. Lastly, on that list.
And we can speak to, specific projects that have been funded,
Yes.
new housing, affordable.
Yep.
Projects, which would be great.
Yep, and Pavel does have a pretty good list. We did some back and forth, so that is at our disposal whenever we hit. Third and last is on the tax side. This is a really important item for Senator Cantwell. I know Senator Murray has been a big supporter as well. This piece of legislation got close to passage. There are some different items that still have to be hammered out. So it is very possible that we're going to see this in the next Congress, potentially with some kind of new tax package the Trump administration has been talking about. So more to come, but definitely something we want to really be watching closely. Like I said, big priority for this.
So question for you.
Sir.
So have you already identified what mobile home park you plan on acquiring?
Pavel has.
It's one of those 3 or 4 out there.
Okay.
About that.
Well, because we had one of them that was ready to sell.
It was the one that was When this went in, it was when we were understanding it was gonna be coming up for sale and not yet listed,
Okay,
and this would be the funding to help with that. I don't know if it's already sold, we're too late,
it's
Yeah.
not,
but yes, it was for the one that was coming up for
Okay.
sale 6-8 months ago.
Okay, moving on to the next item is broadband. Ariane was really helpful, from Broadlink to put down some different priorities. These are ones that she is owning in terms of being proactive. So again, I don't have to read them over. Like I said, I'm trying to get really high level here. So in disaster response, Congresswoman McMorris Rogers introduced the Malden Act, which I think we are all familiar with. There is some possibility that it will be attached to an end of year disaster package. That is still unclear. I just talked to their office last week and we are waiting. One note is that there is not a specific shot clock on when disaster declarations have to be made by administrations. And we've seen through multiple administrations of both parties that this has been a problem for our community, most recently happening in Spokane County. So I think it is worth a discussion potentially next year with our congressionals. If this does pass, if we can maybe take another step to see if we can get a definitive timeline. And I don't want to throw an arbitrary number, 30 days, 60 days, but something where we're not in the same position we were this last year with the devastating fires, and residents don't have to wait on an administration. So next, PFAS. I think it's important, and the board has all been talking about this. This is EPA, Department of Ecology issue. We've been talking to them a lot. I think in having a conversation with multiple people, and I know some of the commissioners have made great efforts and gone to great lengths to work with those agencies to make sure that they are doing everything they can to be supportive to residents in the county. That's something that I really believe we should continue, and maybe setting up a more regular cadence of meeting with EPA or ecology, even if they're zooming in to the board. Commissioner French, I believe you just worked on an item. Did you have a grant submitted, or you were working on something?
oh, yeah, no,
specifically?
we're getting a grant submitted to the state for filtration systems and stuff, and we should have it ready to bundle up this week and ready to go in.
Okay, great. And again, it's making sure ecology and EPA are communicating with us. And then if there are issues that arise, staying close to our professionals, state legislators, and everyone, make sure people are on track. Commissioner French, did you have some questions?
Yeah, on the third bullet point where you say local, state, and federal legislators hold agencies accountable, what agencies?
So this is gonna be EPA, this is gonna be ecology, and we wanna continue to have a conversation with AppTech over at CoreSpace.
Okay.
And I know admittance culpability has been a little bit elusive in some places,
Yeah,
but that's something that
okay.
we need to keep the board informed of. Yes, Scott.
John, there was a grant, I think that the county had tried to apply for earlier this year on PFAS. And if I recall correctly, it was low-income areas, differences in maps between Washington states
Yep.
and EPAs. Is there any opportunity to place that on the commissioner's lobbying agenda to try to bring those into harmony? So when we go and find those things, we don't have an out of sequence sort of grant opportunity. We thought we had an opportunity that we don't have an opportunity.
Yes, and so we had that conversation with Senator Murray's office, and they talked to EPA, and EPA said and I think you were on that email, the maps don't necessarily have to align. They just have to be able to benefit people within those EPA map regions. Is that correct?
Well, kind of, sort of.
It's
What EPA said is, what the EPA told us said was, our map is our map. and it's based upon census data, but they have no intention of updating the map here in the near future. And so without the map being updated, it does not show the West Plains as a distressed area, making it qualified for federal funding from EPA. And so that was the hiccup we discovered. And I know that we had probably 2 or 3 conversations with Lisette and her efforts and conversations with first Casey when he was with EPA and then with Washington DC. And both of them said, yeah, well, sit tight, we'll update it sometime in the future. But until they do the update, we don't qualify for federal funding,
So
at least from EPA.
This is a question on that. As I recall, wasn't it the case that the state had a similar map?
Yeah.
And that showed that the West Plains did qualify, but
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
not allowed to be used.
Yes,
I wonder if there's a tweak that could say that, it could be either an EPA map or a state agency showing a similar underserved area. or something like that.
so where we came down with Lisette was that in future NOFAs, they could have that language. But without that language, we're stuck with the EPA map and stuff. So she was going to try and work to try and get that flexibility for future grant opportunities. But you're right, we qualify under the State Department of Health and Ecology's map, but EPA's was the one that we didn't qualify under.
To
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
state level.
So Scott, to your question, yes, and what we would do is submit an FY 26 appropriations language change. And that's something we can definitely do because I feel like this conversation makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, that's something to definitely put on our list of if we want to pursue that. And that language changes one sentence. So. Okay. Behavioral health. We've had a lot of good conversations with Justin Johnson. They are utilizing a lot of different resources, for instance, SAMHSA. And those grants are very extensive. Compliance is pretty intense. And so I think Jeff and I, kind of our takeaway has been we're doing what we can do in terms of capacity. However, in light of some information we just received, it looks like the department is going to get some cuts because of the state budget shortage, especially the operating budget. So Jeff, we had a conversation. But, I think
The state's clawing back half of all of the Medicaid allocated proviso funding.
Okay.
Which is gonna be a big hit to some of his.
Yeah.
Lines of business.
so.
We expect that to continue in the next budget biennium.
And so,
Second, Scott.
I was gonna say, I think it's, if I read correctly, it was additional funding that had been given, right? Above and beyond. And I haven't talked specifically with Justin on that, but it sounded like there was some additional funding that was given to us in the last appropriation. That is now going to be, I think, reduced by half or claw back all of it.
They're clawing back half of it, effective the end of this month, so it'll be the second half of the fiscal year at the state. But they also indicated they'll continue the 25 status quo going forward. It says more than likely we'll have to cut programs will impact. Sure, all this, I thought this went around to everybody, I see it didn't, I will. Well, right now, see that.
So I guess I think Scott helped me understand. So it's above and beyond. Cause if it's coming out of I guess I was trying to understand if it was Medicaid dollars or if it was coming out of the state general fund.
It
That would
says
be-
it's the allocated proviso funding, any amount beyond the maximum state GFS, I don't know the general fund, reserve going back, so.
Okay. So they were investing more deeply, the state, in some of these programs, and now because of the state budget issues, that's what you're gathering, that they're pulling back.
Yeah,
Okay.
because of state budget issues.
so one thing we can do is look at potentially different federal sources to help fill that gap. However, of course, want to caution compliance and back-end work and how much you actually get from the feds. You want to make sure there's, it's worth it. Because you can put a lot of time and effort and then you're not really getting ahead. So as we know, all federal programs can be very much that way. Okay, public
Just a
safety.
question on this. In the first draft, wasn't there more bullet points? What was the thought process behind kind of consolidating?
Because the
I'm a
way,
little bit worried about, discussions of Medicaid cuts in the global sense,
Yep.
federal level too, and how that might impact us.
so the other two specific programs, the way they funnel into the state, it's like having red and blue and trying to pull red and blue out of purple as it kind of gets distilled within the process. So that's why we took them off. But if there are larger kind of programmatic changes, this next administration, that's something that could effectuate some of those programs.
So it comes to the state.
Yeah.
And then it gets divvied out to the locals.
Yeah, the state
In combination with state dollars. Okay.
It's very messy, and Justin and I talked about this, and it was kind of so it doesn't necessarily make sense to have it on the federal agenda, but you do have it in the larger expanded. So that way we have something we can watch, and then if Justin's seeing a reduction in these funds based on any kind of federal action. we can cut that and make a decision. Sound good?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to, if there's discussion of cutting specific programs that ultimately flow down to Justin's department, to be able to discuss that and talk about whether we want to add that or make an adjustment.
Yeah, and that brings us to kind of the larger issue of budget cuts will take place. And some of the accounts, for instance, in LHHS, others, they are things we'll have to track because it could financially affect the county's coffers. So, but we'll be doing that throughout these next 6 months. Good. And is this high level enough? Are we getting too granular? Okay. All right.
Good.
Commissioner French, do you have some questions? I like this. This is the,
Gives me something to do while I'm listening to you.
oh boy.
Wheels are spinning.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Next, moving on to Shrek. So my understanding, I don't know if we've actually purchased, the building has been purchased or it's within the process. I'm not going to get into the conversation. All I will say is when we come up to FY 26 earmarks, there is likely an opportunity in, I think, VHS, where if we want $2 million or whatever to try to do renovations, that is certainly a conversation that we can have. So, I mean, obviously working with all the departments, making sure that it makes sense, but something to just put in the back of your heads. Public defenders and prosecutors.
John?
John.
I was just gonna echo I think that the timing would probably be good because as the commissioners may recall, there's about 9 million. That Shrek is anticipating to need still. That identified funding isn't there yet, related to equipment, outfitting the insides, technology, they call them consoles, where all the major all their visual screens and stuff are at for their work. So and what was the CPF CDS request?
Those are earmarks. So
Oh,
congratulations.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank you.
both chambers call them
Love
different
acronyms.
things,
Love
but
acronyms.
yeah, exactly. Sorry about that.
Ask a question on that topic. Can you remind me, has there been any discussions, decisions around emergency management? And whether they would be going over there, or are they still in need of facility improvements for
I-
Candra's?
I think John would, Sheriff Knowles would say, yes, long-term, it makes sense to have a long-term location for that. The facility over there is kind of an older one, and he's been talking, I think, through some different partnership opportunities. There is an opportunity, depending on what happens with the city of Spokane, whether they join or do not join. If they join, there's a likely scenario where there's not room at the new facility. If they don't join, there's likely room at the new facility, so it is an opportunity for us to keep an eye on.
And is that scalable? So in other words, if we ask for 3 million, they only give us 2, that's easily scalable, right?
If we ask for 3 and we get 2, we'll take 2.
Okay.
We just have to plug the hole elsewhere.
And
Yeah, because it benefits the entire county.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
And I will note that if the city did decide to participate, there is a fairly decent chance that if we apply together, we could get 4 million. You know, I don't know, 5 million might be a little bit high, but we could be in a 3 to 4 if we did decide to partner on that. So. Something. Software integration, see Sparber over there.
I'm out over here.
Yeah, I'm not over there. Do you wanna maybe color in and give a little bit of context? You and I have had a couple conversations on what this maybe could look like, but I know this is one conversation, probably 20. But I don't know how redundant it is.
So which one are we talking about?
We talked about connecting all the verticals,
jurisdiction.
yeah, different departments.
So, thank you, board. One of the challenges that we've seen through the years is the ability to have all the mental health departments talk to each other, as far as interconnect. And one of the challenges has been the stabilization center doesn't have information that the hospital has, the hospital doesn't have information. It's forwarded to, the law enforcement, where they make contact with them. And so there are several cities in the country that have done this integrated model where that mental health information is shared on a broad level. I.e., we just had them in a hospital, they have medications, they're released or some of those type of things. What I suggested to Jeff and to you was if there was an ability for us to look into that model and see what they look, that's what I'd be interested in doing. So do you have any questions on? So it's pretty broad-based at this point, no details, just examples from other sites that have it. I'll get it, but they're on my desk. So,
Because I think San Antonio does that with their crisis relief. So,
yeah,
and they're using HMIS as their to do
Right, yeah.
that. So it's not even a new software system. It is an existing software system that they've been able to make that happen. I don't know, Amber, when you were there.
But that makes sense. I think, cause HMIS has a lot of HIPAA,
Criteria for it.
and so they're collecting some information in HMIS that's, needs HIPAA safeguards, so it would seem that something, when looking at these other communities, let's not reinvent the wheel. I like the idea of seeing. So you're saying that especially the mental health and like psychiatric side that information's not being shared.
not on a
So
broad
every
basis.
time somebody enters a facility, it's like starting over again,
It's like
not
like a startup
understanding
report.
where what medications people might be taking.
So, yeah, some of the information is shared by information requests from the doctors, when they fill those out. But it's not readily available to them. So they don't know if they've been to the hospital like yesterday or last week or any of those type. We used to have Raintree, used to be our primary way to do it, but it's fractioned down. So what I expressed to them is I'd really like to look at a broader net, get the stakeholders at the table and see if we can find better connectivity for people that have mental health issues.
I really like the concept. I think that's something we should definitely explore, is the idea to ask for funding to explore, pilot, study, something along those lines.
So more technical assistance side.
Correct.
And where would the funding source come from? I mean,
Yeah, there's,
because we're not gonna have enough, earmarks are one thing, and we don't know where they're gonna be. So what are the possibilities?
and the likelihood of the count, I think this would come out. Justify that,
I would have to work with Jeff to kind of look and see.
negotiate with the TA, because
Yeah.
there is tech money.
There is tech money, but I don't know what amount and what it covers.
It is, that is earmarked.
DOJ was open this past cycle, so if it stays as one of the budgets that's open this year, we're looking at those kind of grants.
It's something I've shared with Scott in the past. It's something I'd really like to see activity come together for the jail, you know, for all of the departments.
I definitely, that Bear Consulting Group that's helping do a analysis right now with Race Rundin of all of our substance treatment and behavioral health, kind of where the gaps in communication are. They would be very familiar with what San Antonio is using with the jail and the crisis center there and the housing and stability services. So, yeah, definitely make sure we stay in touch with that Race Rundin study that's being done right now that Bear Consulting is out of San Antonio.
Okay. Who, do you want me to?
Three
own
Bears,
that?
sorry, Bear
Three
County,
Bears.
Three Bears.
There's more than just one bear.
There's 3 bears.
3 cuddly teddy bears.
Who do you want to own that? Do you want me to just work with the commissioners, how do we like to proceed? So we make sure we're tied up in the action steps. I'll reach out, I'll start some conversations.
Blank stares,
I'll
blank
keep the
stares.
board informed. And you and I
That's what
will,
we're looking for.
that's
right
right, we will
I mean,
figure that out.
And Dr. V and the fentanyl roundtable is involved, and I think they're gonna get some updates in January and February. I know Justin's being
That'd be perfect.
interviewed and.
Yeah, definitely Justin Johnson should be a part
And
of
I'm
it.
happy to talk to Brenda to get the Three Bears Consulting.
Okay, that'd be super helpful. And I will say there probably is there could be philanthropic dollars that we could look into too. That's something I know county doesn't always look into, but governments do have that resource.
So I just think it'd be a big step forward for Spokane community.
Well, especially with if we are able to expand the crisis stabilization services, sobering services, having that data be able to be shared effectively just helps people get treated more quickly and hopefully get the help they need to stabilize. So that's the idea.
Okay. I will reach out. Reentry, we talked about programs for tribal communities. I actually think there was a program to help deal with that, so we can follow up offline and.
This is a model that was shared with me by Commissioner CUNY. It's a compassionate model they use for the Native Americans on the west side. I thought that if there was money available for that, that could be an area that we could look into. on the side of it.
And do we have any opinions on if it flowed through, for instance, the Native Project or other nonprofits that benefited the county? It could kind of get messy in there, but just something to think about, because that opens up about 900 other nonprofits that benefit the county. So we'll look if there's direct.
That's a broad range, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll see if there's direct connectivity.
I think it would be nice if it's possible to get some of the councils together and meet about it and talk about it.
Okay.
You know, I think there are, you know, there are traditions and some of the things that are available to the tribal members specifically on, you know, the reservation job opportunities and and so forth that we should look at and see how we can fit in best with that as far as reentry from the jail and have a model for that.
Which group? Kalispell's.
Charlottesville, Spokane.
Their new mental health substance treatment center.
Is it up yet?
I think it's very small, but it came up in the discussions about the OTP program.
Canvas.
There you go, Camus.
That's,
I think it's just so we know. what
you know, another good resource for this is that he has several connections in some of those areas, so.
And then the sheriff's office,
I'm done here.
you're good.
I could go-
Thank you.
I could go.
Are you eager to get off the hot seat?
So multiple resources for the sheriff's office. Again,
Sorry,
there's, oh,
Did we, number 2, the public defenders and prosecutors?
yeah, that's
You kind of jumped on that one. I didn't know if you had a specific funding source you had in mind.
no,
but
but
that
there's
was
like
good.
loan forgiveness that we
Oh,
could
yeah.
do education with Gonzaga and that kind of stuff, but I think it's. I would not be super sad if we actually took that off the list and made this exactly 2 pages. But
It's one, kind of like with cops, sometimes the feds will give money for additional. But you have to
Right.
keep them going in
But
the
then you have
long
to
term.
keep.
But where we are with the new AOC regulations, we might be having to solve on some additionals. Down the road, so we thought if we could pay for a certain period of time before we solved, maybe there could be a nexus there that would work out.
And once earmark accounts come out, if earmarks come back, I think let's all talk about elephant in the room. We'll see, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so. If that's the case, we'll eventually get appropriations committee guidance. And then so we can see what would fit, what's eligible and all those kind of things.
Thank you.
I suspect too that one, the Fed, the congressional folks will probably, could raise a question. What's the state doing to solve on those things? Why are you coming to the feds? That may be one, and then two, it's not one time asked, those would be, that would be an ongoing need, and I don't know what I don't think the feds would be interested in a lot, ongoing.
From their perspective, it would be a one-time.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So we'd only want to go for it if we had the long-term.
Yes, and we have to figure out how to solve it long term.
County time.
We might wanna just monitor this one as well, if there's any efforts to cut public service loan forgiveness, hopefully there won't be. But that could significantly impact public defenders and prosecutors. In terms of 10 years of service and the attractiveness of the job.
That's all. Yeah. Okay. Sure. So I think a lot of these could potentially fit into some DOJ tech accounts, competitive and earmark. So working with the sheriff on multiple things, we took a big swing at it's one of my grant folks helped fill out LOI for Rick for command centers. It has like 0.01% chance of eligibility, but the LOI, it's canned. We sent it out just to see if it would go anywhere. Again, my grants guy did a lot of it, so it wasn't too time intensive for the sheriff's office. Mindful of that. But just want to let you know, a lot of these things, and perhaps we package them actually to make kind of a bigger ask, make more of a, law and justice, whatever we want to brand it as. But there's a possibility we can find kind of a germane. And then lastly, I sent you all a larger document on transportation projects. And, a lot of these are so far out that in terms of being on FY25, that just did not make sense. Public Works could work all of this. You've got your tip look at to identify where things are in the rack and stack. The only note is that if we ever, at some point, I'm sure we will apply for one of the bigger federal grants, that is where, of course, we should engage. And, like the infra, we decided to go that maybe next year or the year after, who knows? Scott, you'd be better to speak to this. But if we do, those are $20 million of grants that we should be in DC, like Commissioner French, Commissioner Kearns were this year, just advocating for the project. So, because those a lot of times can be great. That's what I got.
Did we have price of stabilization on here? Did I miss it? Should it be on here for the earmark request for the sober events?
I mean,
Should we maintain it until we get it?
I mean, the way we could couch it is, we want appropriations bills to pass in March. Certainly we can add that to please pass
It's
because
already.
yeah, everything, yeah,
It's in the Senate.
yep, we're good to go. But we can certainly add that as a pass, please pass them. Pass FY25.
Do your
Please.
job, please.
Yes, please.
We need to shrink your font then to stay with your toothpick.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's our most likely, direct get in terms
Yeah.
of dollars, so whatever we can do to say, keep that moving, even if it's not super specific, just to
Yeah.
talk.
And just a quick reminder of, these are the 12, you've seen this before. There's 12 budgets that go through Congress. The 7 that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that in the current fiscal year were open in the House. A lot of chatter in DC that the Senate may blow the House with the changes of leadership. So the big one that would impact some things is number 8, which is currently open in the Senate, but not in the House. That's gonna be all of your social service or a lot of your social service, pretty much anything outside of HUD, since T-HUD is separate. So 8's a big one if it goes away on the Senate side. The House did have a change. Congresswoman Granger out of Texas retired. And so Cole out of Oklahoma replaced her. She let the gavel change hands late summer when the previous budget was done. And started working on the next budget just for continuity of the budget cycle. She made it where the subcommittee chair of each of these chose themselves whether their particular budget will be open or closed. Don't know if Congressman Cole will do the same thing. How that will go. John just said in the next few weeks, we'll start getting the rumors and then the literal of all those rumors on what will be open, what will not be open. But just kind of your reminder cheat sheet.
And to that end, we can anticipate, like we talked about, some certain accounts. So some of the stuff I've heard here today are FY 26 programmatic language changes for maps, EPA. Is that something that maybe, all right, I'll put that on a list. We can think about that. And then Shrek dollars for tech. Talk about that further. I'll just put these on a list as different ideas. I'm saying all that because once we get guidance, we probably want to be teed up and ready with our appropriations ask. We can make sure we put together material and then socialize it with our senators and congressmen. And I would recommend getting to DC in January to kind of talk about our priorities. So,
And this might be a year to look at policy asks over address like the map change or getting the date in the Malden Act. I know that date was pulled at the last minute to get it passed. It wasn't going to pass with the date, so they got it passed without the date. But there was a lot of support for the date, just not. You know, I think there was actually majority support for a date, but they couldn't decide is it 90 days, 100 days. You know? So they took what they could get with our string of emergencies that hit us.
On software integration.
The question for you. Of the 12 departments down here that you listed, 12 agencies. Do you have a feel yet for which ones of these will be eliminated by the new administration? I hear EPA is going to be dramatically cut back and not eliminated.
EPA possibly could be. EPA is one agency that was not created by Congress.
Right.
It was created as an executive action, I believe, in the Nixon years. So I have read legal opinions on if it was created without Congress, it probably could go away without Congress.
Right.
And so I think that's one to watch, and a lot of conversation around education, which wouldn't impact our work as much, certainly our community, but not we don't do education in this body. Those are the two that I have heard most frequently mentioned for that.
So we could, through that process, watch the public loan forgiveness. I'm sure that takes place. But I mean, certainly, we will watch all of it. We just, a lot of things just prognosticate for forever, right? You know, this administration.
So
Just a question. Oh, sorry.
the other one that I just recently saw an article on is the Army Corps of Engineers as being at risk. So
I've not heard that one, but
yeah, as the article was insinuating, they are the agents, one of the agencies that seems to be getting in the way of pipeline distribution. You know, like the Keystone Pipeline and others. And because there is conflict between the Department of Energy, yada, 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 that might be one that's a casualty. I don't know. Not campaigning, just
Politically, you can see where that would come from, yes.
I can see where that would be.
I mean, what the core does just in aggregate, I mean, like, probably see streamlining, but they do so much for the nation's water infrastructure that it would be, I think, probably in the streamlining space.
Yeah.
Because the core can be very challenging to deal with when it comes to just getting stuff done.
Challenging is optimistic, I'd say impossible.
Well, we're being recorded, so I decided to.
That's okay.
I have friends in the core too.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and then, I will just say, kind of a couple leave behinds with Sheriff's Tech, on the FY 26 ask. I don't know, let's see if the board wants to think about that, and then software integration, that seems to be a much longer exercise. I don't know if we could come to a conclusion, whether we want to go after TA in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I won't be presumptuous here, but just want to know that I'm guessing that's going to take some time.
Probably late January, February, after the change of administration on the 20th. And we start seeing secretaries confirmed, and we'll have a list of who's chairing what where. Would be a good time to come back and get our ducks in a row for what our plan of action will be for the 26th budget.
And assignment wise, Senator Murray will not become ranking on appropriations. She won't be chair. However, her and Senator Collins, who will be chair, have a great working relationship. Yeah, so we're fine. And then Senator Cantwell will stay on committee. She'll be ranking as well. We will be fine there. And then Baumgartner, we're hearing a lot of different committees that are being discussed, but we've still got about 2 weeks or so. In fact, like Jeff said, we don't know when those things are gonna be named.
A lot of it depends on who's not returning and where the openings are.
Any further questions?
I just want to say thanks for all your work. I know you spent a lot of time with all the departments getting to and talking to all the commissioners, so appreciate that. And then will we kind of put this into a beautiful format to match our lovely state agenda? And have our branding game?
If you guys want to, we
Fine.
can. We had talked at the federal level, a leave behind of this length would get no play. And it might be better to come in with a 1-pager on the 1 or 2 items and maybe do one-offs depending on who's
Right.
going to what office. So I think once,
Something on just housing
yeah,
or just public safety.
exactly.
Okay.
So, and some of that I think will also bear out once, like I said, in end of January, once we're gonna know the playing field a bit better. We'll make a decision at that point. Pat's team can quickly prettify it if we need to. But we can also, we'll just see what makes the most sense. Yeah, with our strategies at that point.
The one, I mean, we're going especially after earmarks. We did that, Crisis Stabilization Center, one piece, all by itself. Same thing with our road project, Fairchild, same thing, all by itself. Yeah, everything we do, leaving behind this would be.
You have to really tailor it to the specific person on the specific staff of the specific electorate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the time. Thank you, everyone.
Very excited.
Hey, that was a good start, right? I don't have that bell skills, but.
Went under the top of
One of
the
your kids
courthouse,
didn't do
got
that,
cut off.
right?
Yeah, right, yeah. It did. Well,
Give me a-
I just cut off the
Talk
flag.
to your,
We'll get
yes,
hired.
talk to your designer.
That's right.
Give him a hard time.
Great, so we've got Dr. Zing on Zoom, so welcome, doctor.
You. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi.
Oops. Sorry about that. It's Monday morning, sorry. Good morning, everyone. Some of you might already know that the laws governing death investigation have previously specified that in counties less than 40% or 40,000 population, the county prosecutor is, by virtue of the office, also the county coroner. And the law is changing January 1st to require those smaller counties to actually have separate offices. So now the prosecutor will not be the coroner. So they either need to create a separate coroner or medical examiner office or contract with a neighboring county for those services. So Pend Oreille County is one of those counties falling in that category and has approached us to provide death investigation services for them. So I'm here seeking your provide autopsy services for them. And we want to expand that to now also provide death investigation services for Pend Oreille County.
Doctor, I assume there will be mechanisms put in place to make sure that they are paying for all of the service so that we are operating on a full cost recovery in providing these services?
Yes, exactly. So we've looked at the cost of the investigation services for their projected number of scenes that will require investigation. And we've also built in a mechanism to have contract personnel that can expand as needed, the personnel available to respond to scenes up at Pend Oreille. But yes, we've built in already the costs and a potential expansion of costs that it will that for provision of these services.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, and I'm just happy that, that we can do that for them. Yes, it's really nice. It's sort of a mutual aid situation. So we can now provide the, expand our regional services, but also you rely on that regional personnel that will be training in case we need that assistance in death investigations and so on. So I think it'll be mutually beneficial for both companies. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Kevin Ritchie is not available. Okay. So we are going to be delaying those items until tomorrow and try to put them in tomorrow's. Is Vicky available? Oh, there she is. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. It's Vicky and Melanie. Vicky and Melanie. Watch out.
And I see that the sugar has been laid out. Okay, well, we've got a lot going on with the upcoming implementation of Workday, and one of those things that we ran into is that our purchasing card policy was, to say the least, a bit out of date and had gotten a bit out of hand. So Melanie will take you through those statistics, and then we'll talk a little bit about policy that we need to have adopted for January 1.
Okay, so the purchasing card is a component that is managed by the purchasing department. And what we've seen is there's been roughly a 300% increase over the last 5 years of the number of cards that we have, P cards, and then it's actually a higher percentage for the travel cards. So that's been basically since 2018 until now, it's just been increasing quite a bit. What that means, we have insufficient staffing to monitor the transactions. We have an increase of staff since that time frame. Actually, I think that back in 18, it went from a full-time to a part-time buyer managing the program. It's tedious and time-consuming for reconciliation, especially when it gets to the accounts payable department. And we also have low visibility of transactions. We don't see those purchases until they've already happened, right? A lot of times it's quite a ways down the road until it gets to the accounts payable. What that means is we have reduced purchasing power. We have lots of individual accounts rather than centralized accounts throughout the county. There's also the accuracy of report generation. It's really hard for us to run reports when some things are purchased through our current system, which will be the new Workday, and then some are on individual P cards. It makes it hard to find out how much we're actually spending at different vendors. It's also really hard, I would say, on the purchasing side, to make sure that purchasing thresholds are adhered to. Like I said, we don't see that until after the purchase has already happened. So if somebody is going over the $10,000 limit of when it needs to go to purchasing, most of the time, you know, they've already received that item and they're using it before we see that that wasn't adhered. There's a lot of inconsistency. We have cards ranging from $1. We have departments that like to issue every employee that starts a card for $1. And we also have up to $155,000 limit. There's also some departments where there's one person in the department that has one, and there's departments that they issue a card to every single employee when they start. So.
So what that means is from a reporting perspective, a budgeting perspective, and as these dollar amounts have increased and activities increased on the P cards, those are not being recorded until the end of the transaction. So that means people are already spending their budget, but it's not showing up as impacting their budget until the very end of the transaction, which sometimes can be days or weeks. Another issue with P cards is we have to pay the bank. So no matter what the charges are, we pay the bank, and then we try to figure it out later. And over the past couple of years, we've had some truly entertaining transactions. We've had capital items being purchased on P cards, which is not acceptable. We've had items that are unallowable, and not a couple of bucks, but in the tens of thousands of dollars that are unallowable, and puts us in a situation that by then the department has already received the good, has already used the good, and getting it sent back is nearly impossible. So we've had to do some very creative accounting for items that have been received that one department technically could not use, but we had to go find another department that technically it would fit in with the program, which then spends their budget in a decision that they never made. We had one just recently, not quite my all-time favorite, but pretty darn close, where we had an individual buying software that had to be approved by the IT department first. This person had made unallowable purchases a couple of times, had not run them through IT, and these were specific pieces of software that were not allowable under IT's policy. So it has been a monster, to say the least. We need to bring it under control, not just for allowable and unallowable costs, but also for budget purposes. So now we'll head on
Okay, so that's
the proposed policy changes.
what we would like to propose. Would be obviously switching to that our primary utilization is going to be paying vendors through our new Workday system by ACH. I believe ACH was not allowed in prior. It is now. It's a pretty quick and painless process to get them set up with ACH, and then it should be a lot faster payment. I know that is a concern of departments. Automated clearinghouse or a wire. Yeah.
Electronic.
Yeah.
Master payment.
Yeah, that's the
Master
payment,
bank.
not a check in the mail. Yeah, right to their bank account. We would like to limit the transaction types. So right now we have some departments that are paying routine services, a payment that they make every single month. They pay it on a P card. We want to make that a mandatory paid through the Workday system to allow us better tracking. We really want to, and no services, because that's something too that we, even if it's under the $10,000 limit, we do want to see the services so we can see if there's a pattern and we need to go out to contract some of these vendors. The goal is really to make the P cards more of a small purchase, an emergency purchase, not the primary method of making payments, which is what has happened throughout the county over the last few years. What this would look like would be to have a standard of reducing the cards to administrative positions only, with one card issued per department. We fully understand that is not realistic for quite a few departments, right? Facilities, public works, the sheriff. There's a lot of departments that will fall outside of that norm. And that would be allowed. They would just be an extra approval step. So when it comes to my department, I would insert the senior admin finance position and I would put a note to them on, you know, the department's requesting outside of it and I've approved it, and then put that extra layer of approval in there. But the norm would just be the one per department for admin. And then also the norm would be a spending limit of $5,000 for the month with a $2,500 per transaction limit. Again, that's another thing that we will have departments that need limits outside of that standard. And there's just an extra step as far as approval. So that is our goal.
So a question I have is, because when we talk P cards and we're talking purchasing cards, are we talking travel cards as well?
So-
Do we consider them one and the same in this policy?
No, they are separate, so they're, the travel cards, were not at this time planning to drastically reduce the number of them. There are some departments that were issuing them for $1 to every employee. We've talked to them and we're trying to stop some of those practices. But at this point, we're still going to allow, the new policy, I believe it did actually put I believe it's the same limit as far as the 5,000 and 2,500 or the travel cards, but looking at the purchase history, that's not gonna be an issue. Nobody really outside of it, we're still gonna allow the same volume that we've had. That might be something we look at later down the road. I know in speaking to some other counties, they've actually gone to departmental travel cards, counties that use Workday, but I think this is a big enough project with paring down the P cards that we'll do that first.
Just make a comment if there's no other questions. Both Vicky and Melanie and I have talked about this a bit, and this is a kind of an outcropping of the county previously. When we got into P cards, it was pushed a lot. Buy everything via P card because we can get rebates back. So part of it's self-inflicted on ours, but there's also been some departments who've really taken it to leverage the rebate approach. So we're trying to, the rebate does exist, but there is a lot of work that goes into managing P cards. And so going through and implementing a better system of buying for the county needs through the ERP system, through Workday, gave an opportunity for us to kind of rein this back in. We weren't necessarily gaining the buying power, as Melanie mentioned, so this allows us for consistent purchases that are across multiple departments, bringing it under a contract versus individual P cards. So the other thing I would say is the reduced visibility is a real thing, where we're not seeing applications hitting the budget until well after the transaction occurs. So there's a number of reasons P cards work in under certain scenarios where we have kind of an emerging need, but we need to kind of shift off of doing this as a recurring sort of a transaction, bringing back into some level of limits in there, so it's not so widely available for individual judgments as to what their P card limit should be. So it is a change, but there are some benefits within Workday that will enable our purchasing to probably even be more efficient. And through like office supplies, things that we are just generally purchasing a lot, we need to go through and reduce the ability for individuals just to go out there and buy things off of Amazon or this or that. But it's like, this is the contract that you'll use for office supplies. This is the contract you use for whatever continued recurring ones. So it's a needed policy update. Yeah, that's what I'd say about it. Long overdue.
Yeah, just to add on that, what Scott said about through Workday, there's the punch out system, and every user in Workday, so every county employee will actually have the ability to utilize that. And so where they previously made an Amazon, Office Depot, Staples purchase with their P card on the outside site, they'll now do that through Workday. So every employee of the county will be able to go in to Workday and purchase something through Amazon, and it'll trigger the departmental and budget approvals. So this is a good time to scale back the P cards, because that's a lot of the transactions that we do see is, you know, the office supplies, Office Depot, Staples, and a lot of Amazon, so.
What's the time frame that you're looking at to implement, and have there been, has this been shared widely? Are we expecting a revolt? Don't take away my P card.
I've
How
gotten
dare
quite
you.
a bit of communication, because yes, it has been communicated to,
We can
Di-
direct questions over here
yeah,
right now.
to the department heads as well as the financial users. So everyone is pretty aware. We've had a lot of conversations. We're shooting, I think the policy says January 1st. So we do
Will
have,
Workday be ready to go for transactions by then?
well, by and large, P cards are being, brought down to a zero limit during the transition time. So with those folks that do need them throughout those, you know, couple, 3 weeks have been reaching out to me. But by and large, all the P cards will be brought down to a zero. So it gives us a time frame, and when we go live mid-January, we should be ready.
So we're kind of shutting down the cards as of the new year, but our payment won't be ready to go for a few weeks.
Well, we're shutting down the cards.
right?
We're starting to shut down the cards. So by the 20th. So the 20th is essentially the cutoff for activities through PeopleSoft for departments. And we're getting just hammered with vouchers. So just so you guys know, we have this little running contest going up in accounts payable to see who's gonna submit the oldest voucher, oldest invoice. At this point, February, we have a department who, cleaning off their desk, found an invoice from February. So we're just waiting to see if we get one with older, you know. So the cutoff is the 20th, and then it's gonna be essentially, cleanup, getting everything paid in PeopleSoft through the end of the year, and then we'll cut off PeopleSoft and PeopleSoft for activity, and then Workday will come up. It'll be a soft start. So by the 10th, we're expecting that all of the processing departments like purchasing and AP will be back in, and we'll be able to start working. And then the departments will be able to come in on the 17th and start entering their activity. And that's pretty much when the P cards will come back to life. But we do know that departments will have things that need to get done. That's why we have lots of flexibility with P cards and with departments who actually do need to make purchases.
That was what I was trying to get at, just making sure if there's something truly needed in that
Oh, yeah.
time frame, but there's some ability to do
We've already had quite a few conversations, and ones that I have that are already set up to remain on, and then I can do it really quickly in a couple of people in the department.
This policy is somewhat related, but somewhat independent of the ERP system. Because of the transition over the new ERP system, we need to make sure we have a good opportunity to load new records into it. So by slowing and zeroing this thing out, so that people aren't pushing through a lot of P card transactions is needed for the ERP implementation. But as Melanie and Vicky said, we do have a mechanism to enable those one-time emergency needs in place. Secondly is, so the policy reduction that would have and should have happened independently of the ERP system that was going to be coming in. And then both Vicky and Melanie have communicated this in our last elected official department head meeting. So everyone had a chance to hear the same presentation that you all are here.
And we just.
Shouldn't be surprises.
And I just sent out an email last week reminding all the department heads that the P cards were gonna be reduced down to zero for a while.
Well, I think we got that. Was that all county or was that just? Was it everybody that had a P card got that email or?
Because of the way that the distribution lists are in Outlook, I basically grabbed county leaders.
Okay.
Distribution list and financial users distribution list, because speaking as an elected, we're not always the best at passing information on to our staff. So I try to make sure that staff who have to deal with the situations know what's going on too, or at least they know what their boss is doing.
Is this, is there some policy that we have to vote on, or is it something you just, it comes back to us for a voting
This policy,
resolution or something?
this policy has to be adopted by resolution, and it is on your agenda for 2 o'clock tomorrow. And
Get her done.
we do need it passed, and again, this ERP gives us an opportunity, Workday gives us an opportunity to change our business practices. And this is not gonna be the only policy that needs to come forward for some changes, so you'll probably be hearing from me and from other departments over the next year or so as we move forward and realize that there's changes that.
I think it's really good, because I think we want to use Workday to its fullest advantage. Where PeopleSoft didn't quite use to its fullest advantage. And so, so we need to change instead of, we didn't really want to change with the programs before. We need to change with the program and become more efficient. So I think it's gonna be good.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's gonna take us to George here from there.
Yeah, thanks. Morning, everyone. We're here to brief you on a contract amendment. Brittany, who's managing the program for us, is gonna take care of that.
Hello, good morning. So this is for the home electrification and appliance rebates program. This is our first year and we do already have a contract with SNAP. So Commerce came to us not too long ago and said that another jurisdiction would be able to use funds and asked if we wanted it. So we went over to SNAP and asked them if they'd take on a little bit extra money to be able to kind of continue the program and provide some more assistance. And so they were super excited to, of course, get more funding. So we executed our amendment with Commerce, had a little bit of admin added to our budget, and then we also are coming to you now for the contract amendment with SNAP. So the overall amendment was just shy of 160,000. SNAP's amendment is just over 130,000. So that's just going to go to more equipment and appliance costs for their program. So that's what this amendment is, and it'll come to you tomorrow for resolution. So that's kind of else to it.
Hey, just an update on the program. So just started a few months ago. So SNAP had just some upstart costs to get it rolling, and I just saw an invoice that Brittany approved, I think it was last week, for just over $200,000. So the program's off to just a great start, doing a lot of good work out throughout the community. I think another thing that's important to note is that this is a county-wide managed program. So SNAP's doing that, and Brittany's taking the lead in our department to make sure that we're getting these program funds out to as many folks throughout the county as possible.
Yeah.
Great.
More money.
Yeah.
We'll take the money.
Easy. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. We have the hearing convened. Okay. She's in person. Good morning. Good to see you in person.
Thank you for having me in person. Yeah, last week you wouldn't want Urban Lifestyle involved.
You go ahead and get started.
Kick things off as a follow-up.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. If it's okay, I thought I would follow up as we discussed last week. I had a chance to work with a lot of fine folks to figure out our discrepancy between the 24 and 25 CIP. So I think we have a plan moving forward related to funding of the restroom project. And we specifically have our Zephyr Road project was funded this year to the tune of $600,000. We have come in under budget. We coordinated that project with the Public Works Division. Everything from the time we bid the projects and we're able to enjoy some savings from that, eliminating like mobilization costs, that sort of thing, by coordinating that with the Liberty Lake Park project. So ultimately, we have 215,000 that we're under budget that we would ask your support in moving that over to this project. And that will minimize impact to the Fair and Expo grounds and their future and their equipment. And so with that, if you're supportive and comfortable of that, then we believe we have a great solution and are in a really good position to move forward, which will allow us to take advantage of the 250,000 in grant monies that will be completing the project just within the time frame required to utilize those monies as a component of this budget. And happy to answer any questions. So I provided an updated slide that shows the correction, the adjustment, and a way for us to get across the finish line. And I've had an opportunity to discuss with Randy and Mr. Smith. So I think there's a comfort level if you're supportive of this approach.
Bathroom.
Yes. Yeah.
Did the total number change? Total project?
No.
Or was it was always the
No,
1.1?
it was the breakdown of funding. So what changed is REIT, last week was at 550 for REIT 1. This week, we have adjusted that to 300 to reflect the 2025 adopted CIP. As we continue to have the grant funds listed, and then we're proposing to move some funds over from a project we actually came in under budget on, which is really nice. I wish that happened a lot more often, but we feel confident with this amount and that it would allow us to complete this project.
Mr. Sim, that's very formal. So part of this was, we were a little bit out of sync on our capital projects in Doug's defense. 2024's did show 550 in REIT 1. In this year's capital improvement project, we made an assumption that there was a grant dollars of 250 that didn't show separately last year that may have got lumped in REIT 1. So when we did the capital improvement project this year, we broke those out for 300, 250. So wasn't Doug and Aaron's fault. We just had some out of sync conversations. So with this one, by using the excess dollars from the Zephyr Road project, it allows the commissioners not to have to go back in. The capital projects and the REIT balance that we are anticipating to have in there, or at least budget for, can stay consistent. And we're able to figure out a way to, Doug and Aaron were able to figure out a way to fund this thing. So
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's exciting. We don't know if those, grant dollars are going to be available to us in the future with the state, budget cuts. So we want to use them on a great project.
Is $131,000 standard to design and permit a bathroom?
Well, that
That's
also,
a big,
the
that's a
master plan as
big-
well.
okay, this isn't
Yes.
just for the one
Correct.
thing we're talking about. That's for the.
It was?
Sorry.
Yes,
this is-
Oh, well, then I'm backing out.
Yeah, it's not uncommon that the design side, design and construction documents would be around 8%, and then permitting somewhere around 1 to 2%. So this is not unusual
I mean,
for.
What does that break down to a square foot? I mean, this isn't a huge building. This is a bathroom.
It's gonna be Taj Mahal like.
I mean, can we snag some blueprints online for free? I mean, it's a bathroom. I mean, serious. I mean,
And it's
that's
funny
a
you mentioned that.
chunk of money.
When I started almost 25 years ago, that's what shocked me the most, is whatever, even then. what
I don't know if I've
cost-
ever seen it broken down on something, on a project of this scale. I mean, it's. it's a men's and women's bathroom.
It's not uncommon for 15%
It-
soft costs.
But, well, no, I get the percentage, but it's like,
It's usually higher the
it's a
lower
box.
project.
It's a box with some toilets.
It's a fancy
sinks,
box, though.
and-
It's
With lots of
it's
options.
commercial and
But it's not
built,
fancy.
built to last. We have maintenance in mind and
Okay,
commercial, industrial, and this is what commercial construction, it is
okay.
really challenging.
We can host the whole place
Mr.
down.
French.
It's amazing.
Now you understand why architects are flush with this kind of design.
Well, it's just.
Not the lawyers, it's the architect.
Well, and- Compared to. other
Architectural
commercial
gloat.
I,
Okay.
We have to bloat it so we can pay for the attorneys.
and a follow. Okay.
It's gonna last a long time.
The last one, what made it? 50
Well, I
years?
don't know
It
if
should have
we
only made
wanted-
it 30, but we're there and
That long.
we're pleased to be moving forward.
Yes, happy that we figured out the funding. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I
Teamwork.
back to Aaron's regularly scheduled.
All right, I brought all the topics today, so buckle up, here we go. 4 items that we will be visiting on today, the 2024 fair recap. An update on our 2024 capital projects. Our 2025 non-fair rental rates. And our food and non-alcoholic beverage contract. Next slide, please. So, if you recall, we had a really fun time this year incorporating the 50th anniversary of Expo 74 into the fair. The world is a fair. Next slide, please. Some of the things our team did to incorporate the World's Fair. One, our really talented maintenance staff built these replicas of the butterflies from Riverfront Park. So we've had those at each gate. We'll use them for years to come. We also themed every building throughout the fair as a different country. So say you went to the Home Arts Building, it was Canada. They actually had a Mountie in there that you could get your picture taken with while you were in Canada. And as part of that, we had a passport program that invited our fair guests to go visit every building, get a stamp, enter a daily drawing, and the feedback was amazing. People said they saw areas of the fair they hadn't seen before. So definitely something we want to continue on with. Next slide, please. We had great weather. We can't complain about that. Usually we get a little sprinklage in there, but not this time. Our attendance was 170,468 people, down not even 1,000 people from last year's attendance. Our fair entries, that's, everything that's exhibited at the fair, your jams, your agriculture, your livestock, your quilts, your arts and crafts, your floral. Over 11,000 items entered into the fair to make it, exciting everywhere you looked. Our carnival company, Butler Amusements, did a little bit over $1 million in 10 days of sales. Our food revenues, a little bit over 2.5 million. Parking sales and alcohol were just shy of 300,000 in sales. Next slide, please. We put a comparison together here just so you could see what our sales revenues look like in 2019, which was an exceptional year. 2020, we were unable to have a fair due to COVID. 2021, we were still under COVID guidelines. We had masking required indoors and outdoors during the fair. So you can see our attendance was only at 112,000 people. And then 2022, we were free of those restrictions, bouncing back. You see great sales revenues, attendance is looking good. 2023, we slipped back a little bit. And then 2024, you could see some of those sales numbers were down a little bit. Definitely something we felt at this year's fair, and we heard a lot from vendors in our carnival company as being an election year, that many of them have been in the business so long that they see that trend every time there's an election year, that sales revenues are often down. So But still a great fair, good numbers, just, you know, a little bit lower spending from our guests. Next slide, please. So we are always trying to bring in new attractions. We really want to give our guests that added value. You've paid a ticket to get into the fair. And now when you're at the grounds, we want you to stay for hours. And we want it to be everywhere you turn that there's something new and different to enjoy. And we added the Wheatland Bank Farm Experience this year. We partnered with Delkenna Highlands, the owners of our mascots. And so we offered a 10-day educational farm experience. Part of that also is because during fair, if you come Tuesday, Wednesday, we're light on animals. That's our changeover. So the youth are leaving with their animals, and then we've got the second half of fair moving in. So that was well received. We brought in the voice of the fair this year, Trip Rogers. He made announcements every day, highlighting our programming, scheduling opportunities. Barnyard Racers replaced our racing pigs, so it was a hit with a variety of racing critters, including ducks, geese, goats, sheep, and the pigs. Strolling Piano and Singer, very popular. Our iFlip High Dive show was really popular as well. And then we brought in a traditional lumberjack show. Next slide, please. Great 8 days of grandstand entertainment. Kicked it off with a couple nights of country. Ended big on Thursday night with Flo Rida. That was quite a party, a lot of energy. It was a good time. Just wanted to highlight our 2 top selling ticketed events. Demo Derby on the second Saturday. And then our PRCA Rodeo wasn't too far behind with tickets coming in at $44.08 for the first Saturday. And I will say our concert ticket sales numbers are back to pre-COVID. You know, we saw coming out of COVID, we were like near sellouts, and now they've slipped back. There's just a lot of competition in the area as well for concerts. Next slide, Ron. All right, we're flying right into capital projects. So, yeah.
So, the 5-year comparison is great, Aaron. It gives a good idea of what the trends look like. Do you have an idea of how the revenues, looked in a similar kind of comparison for the live events at the grandstands? Sounds like ticket sales were down some.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
In the concerts.
Right. Usually our goal, especially on the concerts, is if we could generate enough in ticket sales to cover at least the artist fee. Say we're spending 140,000 in to bring, you know, one night of entertainment, and we probably only got 3/4 of a way on those nights. So they weren't quite where they had been. But again, it's a tool for us to bring guests into the fair during those weeknights where otherwise it might be really quiet.
Maybe just a follow up to this sheet to add those other
Sure.
elements in there too.
Okay.
It just gives the commissioners a good comprehensible view.
Okay.
But I would have said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would expect, I mean, when you bring people in for those concerts too, I mean, those nights, your alcohol sales are probably way higher
Yes,
than nights when you
yes.
don't have those musical acts too.
Correct.
I mean, so.
Yeah, and it boosts
And-
the food vendors.
So,
Would you assume that?
you know, so I, you know, it's, maybe you don't make up with just ticket sales alone, but I mean, you look at
Right, there's other
models of a
impacts.
lot of sporting teams and other events. It's not the ticket sales where they make their money.
Right.
It's on the concessions, it's on the alcohol, it's on that type of stuff as well. So.
Definitely. Okay, capital. We highlighted the campground restroom project last week. And now the font is getting a little small for my changing eyeball. So I'm gonna refer to this page right here. Right now, we are in the process of re-siding what we call the railroad barn. So on the south end of the grandstand, we have the area where the traditional tractor pulls are with our steam and gas buffs. So that barn's great, but we're giving it a fresh new look and giving it some longevity for less than $9,000. Our staff worked all last week. They're working this week to get all that siding installed. So it looks really fresh and nice. New Dyson hand dryers throughout our restroom facilities. We bought our first new vehicle in over 20 years. an F-350 Ford pickup truck and added a plow assembly to that, so we can plow all of our many acres. We are upgrading our Wi-Fi system. Our system has aged and it's not functioning as well. This is our free Wi-Fi throughout the grounds for our vendors, promoters, guests. That is a 4-year project. We've invested 30,000 this year. We see 3 more years at about 40,000 each for a total of 150. In regards to the Clean Building Act, we have added meters to track our energy use, just so we can get some more accurate numbers to see if we're compliant or not. That's a $70,000 investment. And the one thing I'm super excited about is our nearly completed economic impact study. And again, I have to say, one has not been done in 20 years at the Fair and Expo, so very long overdue. I'm loving what I'm seeing for the numbers, and I look forward to having our consultants travel out hopefully in February to do a presentation for all of you with all this really valuable information.
That'll be awesome.
Okay, next slide.
Can I ask,
Question?
Eric, I wanna say back in 2018 timeframe, around there, I think we spent about $80,000 for Wi-Fi out at the fairgrounds, but I don't think it covered every building out
Right.
there. Is this Wi-Fi upgrade, so this is every single building, like including
Yes.
the barns and stuff? Cause I know some people were upset when we initially did the Wi-Fi, it didn't go out to the furthest reaches of the property.
And it's still a little light out in some of the barn areas, but our
Okay.
goal, yes, is to get it farther out
Okay,
and to get it out to our campground area as well.
okay,
So we should have a more robust system.
Okay.
Yes.
thank you.
All right, moving on. 2025, our non-fair rental rates. This is something that I have on the agenda for your approval tomorrow for us to move forward with those rates. We have implemented a 5% rental rate increase on all services, rental items, horse stalls, and parking fees. We did a comparison study with similar facilities in the area and throughout the state of Washington, other comparable Fair and Expo Center facilities. Found that our building rental rates are all in alignment with each other. So we're at a good place with those for this year. I do anticipate next year moving forward that we will be working on a regular scheduled building rental rate increase as well. So we're requesting that the board adopts our 2025 proposed rates tomorrow.
And that's the detailed sheets are in the resolution.
Yes, they are. And the next slide, I did not include a magnifying lens, so it's there and yes. So that gives you the breakdown of what you're looking at the items that are increased and about that 5%. We tried to round up to the nearest quarter, 50-cent dollar, just because sometimes we get into those weird pennies, so. Next slide, Ron. More of the same. Any questions on the rental rates before we move into the last piece of my presentation?
Are you still doing the scholarship program or?
We are. We will be sending that out in January.
When you say parking rates for like Bay One parking, what does that mean?
So when you rent Bay One, there's a daily parking fee associated with that space based on square footage. That money goes into funding to maintain our parking lots. So, seal, crack, code.
So it's parking at the main lot, but just you get
Yes.
somebody.
Yeah, for our guests. So they're not paying a parking fee. The promoter is paying a parking fee when they rent the facility to help with the upkeep and the maintenance.
Thank you.
And the last item on the list is our food and non-alcoholic beverage contract. We sent out an RFP October 16th. We had a mandatory meeting with those interested in putting a proposal together for this contract. October 22nd. Proposals were due November 5th. And we selected Longhorn Barbecue to provide these services. And this is our year-round concessionaire, so if you're out at any of our events, they're operating the food services in our building. They're also handling the catering for our variety of events. And then they'll do pop-up food services as needed for different event needs. They are our current partner. They've been a great partner to work with. They offer a great product at a great price point. The contract value is about $350,000, but we hope to grow that. So again, I request the board's approval on tomorrow's agenda to enter into this contract with Longhorn.
Good job. I just say good job. Doing a lot of great things out there at the Expo Center.
Yeah, Sarni saved it all up for one day and just like, here you go. This is what we're up to. Any questions?
I would just say in the future, it might be good to see what the non-fair rentals revenue and expenditures are.
Sure,
Just to see it as a total, to see how, how many events are, how many days it's being rented. Just that kind of information, to get a little bit more information on the non-fair rentals, because I think there's a lot that goes on. It's like, it seems like every weekend I'm hearing, advertisements on TV, with some events happening at the fairgrounds. Whether it's RV sales, hot tub sales.
Exactly.
These-
Happy hot- your hot tub, yes.
Those are the two that I was just.
And 3 months later, it's
Custard.
what?
You know.
I know. It's a little
One more weekend.
Fill in those gaps for us.
Oh, hey.
All of them.
I will put that together for a presentation, yeah, early next year.
Kind of great to see. And I'm assuming that'll be part of the economic.
It will be,
So that might be a good time. Do with that would be good to show, because I think.
The
it really
Home Man Expo
truly-
show gets a lot of people out there.
Yeah, yeah, we have a number of events that draw over 10,000 attendees in one weekend, so.
The new car show. Yeah, so great. Well, thank you very much. I know you're working hard. Oh, it's Scott.
I agree, Commissioner Katie. I think we all focus on the fair, once a year for 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so, but seeing there's a lot of activity that Aaron's team does throughout the entire year programming that space. So seeing that training will be important. I just wanted to commend both Aaron and Doug. They've been working hard to really do that financial analysis of Fair and Expo, understanding the entire, not only the economic impact, but the entire operations, and really working towards these rental rates, aligning them with market, ensuring that how they feed to cover our costs and our capital that allows continued investment in our Fair and Expo. And that's important because it has been underinvested for many years. We did the roof and the HVAC systems to the tune of $4.5 million last year, which is very important, very needed. So just great job for them looking long-term, not just year over year, to know what our future needs are as well. That's showing up in what the team is able to come back to the board and support for investments in capital projects.
Yeah, it feels good. I feel really proud of it that, just being able to show you a whole list of items that we're accomplishing now. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Doug, you get to stay.
Yes.
For our parks items, I have with the Maddie Powell, right, and Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, it's John Smith.
John Smith. Yeah. And we have a
Nice
couple
ring.
of items. It does. It was like, it was too smooth. It's like, okay. We have many Jonathans in our projects these days. Always mix them up. But we're really pleased to bring a couple items for you related to our N1 peak lease agreement that Jonathan's going to speak to. And a small little item that, housekeeping type item with our Liberty Lake, related to our Liberty Lake project that Maddie was speaking. With that, Jonathan, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, good to be here with you to discuss an existing lease agreement we have with Spokane Television Corporation. This is a lease agreement that we're looking to amend and renew. And during this negotiation, our goal was to ensure this revenue stream for county parks, because we use this revenue for our maintenance and operations for Conservation Futures properties. So this was very important for us to come to this conclusion with STI. Give you a brief background on this lease, just a minute or so, and then I will tell you about the term, the renewal, and then the agreement on rentals. So background, this lease originated in 1999. It originally was between STI and the original landowner, which was Leland Land and Livestock. This was for a 25-acre piece of property cut into a 10-acre and a 15-acre property. This was subsequently reduced down to 10 acres, and that is the current leased area is 10 acres. Spokane County purchased a right of first refusal in 2006, and then went ahead and completed that purchase of the property that on Anton Peak that includes the leased 10 acres in 2011. At the same time, and just before this lease was completed, we SHREX, the regional emergency communication organization, they also leased a piece of property about a quarter acre from the existing or the original landowner. And so when we purchased this property, we assumed both of these leases. We're just talking about STI's lease, but I just want to let you know that that does come into play just a little bit. So, and I'll just describe quickly. STI and SHREX has a shared maintenance agreement. It's not part of this lease, but our new lease does acknowledge that, whereas the previous lease didn't acknowledge that. The term of the previous lease was 25 years, and that expired December 31st of 2023. We didn't have a new lease in place and ready to go, and so we utilized a holdover clause in the 99 lease, and the same terms from the 99 lease just carried us through 2024. The new lease is going to be for a 5-year period, beginning in January 1st, 2025, and it will extend through December 31st of 2029. The lease will automatically renew for 2 additional 5-year terms. If either party wants to get out of the lease, all they have to do is provide a 12-month notice. We really like this this lease. It's a great revenue stream for Spokane County Parks. So we want to maintain this lease as long as possible. The base price, negotiated base cost for 2025 is $57,227.79. This lease will be adjusted upward annually. The base adjustment will be 3% or what the average of the previous year's consumer price index is. It'll be the greater of the two. As a negotiation point, the STI requested a ceiling because in previous years there had been a ceiling, and it had been difficult to swallow some of the increases in some years of CPI. So we placed a 6% cap on that adjustment. STI also is afforded the luxury of subleasing, subleasing to television radio users. And so as part of our negotiation, where previously radio frequencies were the county was able to capture a percentage of the subleasing rental costs. Before it was 45%, and our negotiated new percentage is 35%. For radio subleases, for television subleases, the percentage that Spokane County captures was 55%, and now it is 45% of the gross revenue from those subleases. This was the reason this was requested for us as what STI describes as a relief. We understand they have challenges, and so like I said, our goal is to maintain this lease for as long as possible. A couple other items that changed as amendments were in the event that STI decides they no longer want to lease from us, we in the original lease had the opportunity to purchase both towers. That was previously, I believe, maybe $50,000 each, which was not adjusted over the term of the lease. That was 25 years ago. We adjusted that to be $150,000 to purchase each tower now. And then the last item that was amended from the previous lease was in regard to the use of the existing access road. Previously, we didn't have any oversight. We told them they needed to maintain this, but we have put in their language that allows Spokane County to go out and view the road annually. And so at the end of 10 years, we don't have just a large bill for them, and it's being kept up the way that the county requires it to be kept up. Those are the main amendments. I believe if you have any questions, I can take the questions.
Questions? What was the annual revenue in total
Annual revenue
from the lease?
I can.
For 24, we're projecting just about 59,000 is what we're projecting in 24. There's a chart that Jonathan's included.
Yeah.
And he took the time to work with Trish to project out what these changes result in. So as Jonathan explained, the radio is struggling a bit, so they negotiated a little bit of relief in 25, and you can see through the projections, we're expecting to recover that fairly quick over the next couple of years, and again, have a solid and stable, reliable income that helps with conservation futures, property maintenance and operation.
Especially if they're maintaining the road and all of
Yeah.
that. That's a lot of benefits.
Yes. And like all of these,
Doesn't interfere with anything with Shrek.
I'm not aware that it does. It's they've been in existence, cohabitating in similar locations for the same period of time. So would and would continue to be monitored and adjusted accordingly.
We'll be bringing a resolution before the commissioners tomorrow in the legislative agenda. So I look forward to you supporting this lease.
Well, hike up there.
it is, it's great.
Good morning. As you know, we're wrapping up construction at Liberty Lake Regional Park. And we look forward to briefing you later on in the year about that project and how it went, and having our ribbon cutting in the spring. But today we're talking about the sewer line, that's in the park. Next slide, please. So the existing sewer system at Liberty Lake Regional Park is, owned and operated by Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District. They care for and maintain that sewer line that serves our park, and then also it runs into the HOA on the north side of the park. Today we're asking for approval to turn over a new section of sewer line that was constructed to the sewer and water district. Construction required us to move about a 300-foot chunk of existing sewer line that was under the parking lot that was constructed. We moved that just outside of it so that it would have easy access should something ever go wrong. Now that that has been reconstructed, the sewer district is asking that we turn over that line to them at no cost and give them a 20-foot easement, which is consistent with what was already in place for the system there. Next slide, please. So this is just showing kind of where that sewer line is. The parking lot that was newly paved, the dashed line is the existing line, and the new orange line with the blue easement is what was constructed. Next slide. So again, we're just asking for approval to turn over that section of sewer line to the sewer and water district and then grant that 20-foot easement. Any questions?
Thank you.
Right. Or that we begin in spring to show off the project.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We have that tomorrow afternoon
Oh,
on the
great,
consent
yeah.
agenda as well, that will authorize myself to execute the paperwork necessary so we can continue to have the district own and maintain that stretch of line. I think it's win-win.
Yes, we're getting a lot on tomorrow's agenda to finish before the end of the year.
Yes, I saw that.
Very good.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. That takes the mic. Get him back.
Come back.
There's candy. Just don't eat it all at once.
He's gone.
You just kept walking. Presentation's in here.
Report is done.
Oh, is that out there? Good morning again. Today we're here to talk about contract extension on the NAVCARE contract in order for us to complete business that we have to do on it. You'll see it on your consent agenda. I think on page 4 of it. Actually, there's a lot of them. So I'll let Ken go ahead and this is Ken Moore. Yeah, of course, he's the project manager leading it up. So go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so we're talking about extending the medical service provider contract for detention services. We need one more month, the month of January, to buy us just a little bit of time to shore up a new contract with a new vendor that will be in place for 2025. We're very close on the negotiations. I won't get into detail on that for obvious reasons. But the extension amounts to $685,000. It's the existing contract terms. If you'll remember back in spring, we came to you for a 6-month extension, $685,000 a month. Just looking to extend that one more month to buy us a little bit of time to negotiate. So questions, comments?
Had a lot of comments today.
Yeah.
The team did a good job and NAVCARE was generous enough to give us one more month so we can continue. I think we've been working really well, getting close to an agreement with them and just need this additional time. I think we're anticipating that like the first week you guys meet in January, we'll be in a position to hopefully do a full briefing with you on what those contract terms are looking like. So that's coming soon here, but this gives us a little bit of time to get those negotiations to a pretty good final point, have a discussion with the board, and then move forward with possibly a new contract.
Hats off to Ken and his team. We've been meeting twice a week for well over a month trying to get this short up. So he's done a good job. Questions? Easy.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah.
One question, that's it.
Will do.
Now it's gonna take us to our meeting schedule and board members. So, I think we have a meeting scheduled for the.
At 11, right?
Word.
Oh.
Well, then we could do miscellaneous to get that over, so then I just finished it.
Yeah, there's a sweater. Oh,
Yeah,
there he is.
Jeff, do you want to just do miscellaneous?
Greater Spokane, in the capacity as our ADO, requested a letter of support. We have a business, Sunbelt Solomon, that acquired an existing company in Otis Orchards. They remanufacture electrical equipment, provide field services for substations, factories, and other utility-based companies. Currently have about 25 employees. They're looking to do an expansion, which would create about 25 additional new jobs, averaging about $30 an hour. They're gonna do a $5 to $10 million capital expansion for the facility. And they're looking at locating on either side of the state, in the Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene area, or on the Washington side. The governor has a strategic reserve fund for, I assume, Vancouver area in this area, when we're interstate competition for jobs. And so they are putting in an application for funding out of that fund. I was talking to Commissioner French about it, knowing he does economic development stuff. Concerned maybe the cost per job is pretty high, so we don't know how competitive this will be, but we might as well go for it. If we don't go for it, we know the answers now. So Greater Spokane put together the letter. I just tweaked it a little bit. And it's on tomorrow's 2 p.m. agenda. And they will actually put in the application. We will be providing a local government letter of support if the board so chooses.
Sounds like a good opportunity to put in the request.
Thumbs up for me.
Support our partner. Okay, so then everything is ready on agenda. It'll be on your 2 o'clock. If you have signatures, well, scan it and get it over to GSI. Okay, that's it.
The other letter is on the agenda for tomorrow.
Arian will be in tomorrow to speak to that one if you're talking Broadlink.
Okay,
She's scheduled to be here tomorrow morning to discuss the afternoon.
okay.
So,
Oh, she has a letter too.
Arian has a letter coming tomorrow
Okay.
regarding Broadlink. awards.
Exciting.
Not a Christmas card.
She may come bearing those too.
Just because I'll be on Zoom tomorrow, I'll just kind of give a precursor to it, is that with the BEAD funding, the BEAD applications being due here, and we've got
24-ish.
groups, kind of 50-50 between Broadlink wanting to apply directly or a different company applying. That from the Board of County Commissioners, we do just a generic letter of support, to support future furthering broadband in Spokane County. And then the Broadlink Board will be doing a specific one, each, project area. There we go. So that's, she'll get to explain that all tomorrow, but that's kind of the gist of it, so. That, and then I did have one more miscellaneous, Scott. As we get to the end of the year. And I don't know if Ashley is on, but, with the state law changing on the salaries, with salary versus what is overtime, how many employees does that affect here in Spokane County? And are we monitoring that and
yeah.
paying attention?
Ashley's talking.
Yes.
Ashley's
up there. and
Exactly.
She tracked it like last year and she could offer some more insights on it.
Cause I think we just need to all be aware, cause I don't know if all of our assistants now will fall under that.
We take at least 2 more, if not all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi. So sorry, I was switching to panelists, so I missed, I think, a part of the question, but I think what you were asking is how many impacted staff do we have?
Just speak to it. It's a state law that has
Yep.
been in effect that is raising the salary level.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to the prosecutor's office and saying, we may need to really look at the, what attorney ones are making, are there different ones that we need to look at?
No, so attorneys are actually excluded from that list. So there's an exemption for attorneys. So what it is there are most positions, I will say, that are salary exempt. And when they're salary exempt, positions are classified as exempt because they pass a test for the exemption. So it's not technically because we want to pay them hourly or not hourly. It's based on a test of the different job duties and responsibilities that they have. The state of Washington has been increasing the minimum salary an exempt position must make to continue to remain not eligible to be paid overtime. There are some positions that are not impacted by this, like attorneys. They are completely exempt from this, RNs, nursing. So there is a handful of positions that regardless of where the wages fall, they will continue to be eligible to remain non-exempt. For the bulk majority of exempt positions, though, there is a salary threshold that continues to increase year over year in Washington. This was put into effect, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago at this point, but it's been increasing on a multiplier each year for the last few years and will continue to do so moving forward. As of 2025, we do have a handful of departments that will be impacted where they have some exempt employees that will be moving to non-exempt, meaning they're eligible for overtime. I actually am sending that list. There's an email that'll go out today, and then we'll be individually contacting those departments. It is less than 30 employees, so it's not a huge impact this year. In future years, when the multiplier increases substantially, we will start seeing more positions that will be flipping to an hourly versus an exempt rate. And so the rate salary threshold for 51 or more employees, which is us in 2025, will move to a minimum annual threshold of $77,968.80. So we are aware of what that looks like. We will be getting that email out today to the impacted groups. And then the generalists will be working with those individual departments, and employees will receive their letter in the beginning of the year, letting them know if they've switched. The way that the county handles it is we look at it every January. So we don't do multi-year changes. We look at it in January of each year and see where people fall. And then we reassess the following January. We don't do it on a monthly basis because I don't have the staff capacity nor the systems to be monitoring each employee as they get step increases or things like that. So we look at it after we apply the annual COLAs from our contracts and for our non-exempts, see where people fall on January 1, and then make those changes, which is what, like I mentioned, we'll be notifying the leaders of today for those who are impacted.
For the commissioners, do you know the impact?
I do, and I will get you that information today.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Ashley, just out of curiosity, does it affect the paralegals and kind of legal support staff in the attorney world?
It can, but most of them have already been non-exempt. So there's probably a small handful that it could, but a lot of those positions are not classified as exempt at this point. They are already overtime eligible positions, like our admin staff. A lot of those don't fall under the exemption status.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, on tomorrow's 2 o'clock, 4B is the resolution for the 2025 maintenance and operation budget for Martin Hall. So do we want to take that separate and take our congressional no vote on that? That's what we discussed. I just noticed it was on the consent. I know that's something we had discussed about taking separate, so I wanted to highlight that for everybody. It's 4B. And then I was going to ask about the one you touched on, the GSI letter. So thank you for that. The other one I had, 4L. So it looks like 4K and 4L we're appointing 2 people to the Criminal Justice Treatment Account Panel. I know one of the names is Judge Shelley Zamblin, but the other, Sheena Hargrave, who is that?
She is a therapeutic court coordinator, administrator. She's
Okay.
part of I think she's part of Superior Court staff
Okay.
that work. on
Okay.
that, yeah.
I just, as I read through it, I know most of the stuff we appoint to are ones that we are choosing. This is clearly one we're not. The name was already there, and I didn't know who that was.
And Judge Samlin is gonna be the judge in charge of it. Presiding.
Oh,
She's gonna be
and-
presiding, but she's also gonna be moving to the
treatment courts.
Okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's why.
I knew who she was on the list, but then it looks like we're appointing a second person and I didn't know who that was.
Therapeutic courts. There we go.
Sounds good.
So yeah, so I know she'll be the new presiding, but she's also. At the attorney here. So that's why those two be. Makes sense.
That's all I had.
I know, it's gonna be a long agenda. Okay, so with that then, any other miscellaneous items?
Sorry, could I follow up, Commissioner Kearns? Did you want to take did you want to take the Martin Hall separate because of the capital operating budget issues, or you just wanted to take it separate?
So a lot of times in the past, we've taken it separately and just voted no, just a protest vote.
Got it, okay. Well, I know we were talking about how they tried to incorporate the capital into the operating, which really isn't.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be done.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
just gonna say
another,
that, it shouldn't be done.
Yes.
and that's also another option with the commissions too, to say, you're not, if you're, whatever your action is, you can also speak to the capital.
Okay,
part as well.
all right, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I understood that it was all included in one budget number.
That's what Martin Hall has set over to the commissioners.
Thank you.
Chris gets to deliver the message.
My eyes are rolling.
Just say no.
Okay, so with that then, we will move to, do we want to do calendar first or committees? Let's do calendar first. I think everyone's got the draft calendar in front of them from Gina. Yep. Okay. Commissioner French.
So there's several committees in the LSC are not listed on here. For me for the next 4 months. I think just about. We're still trying to get final schedules from the other boards, but just about every Thursday, Friday. I'll be in Olympia for LSC and or Crab and or TIB and or FIPSIP. So the beauty is that the other agencies pay for my travel, so we don't, but so we'll, especially through April, I'll get the LSC schedule and the other boards, and we'll add that to this.
Okay, we can, or I think, is this just where there's more than one commissioner attending? I think this calendar just shows when it's more than one commissioner. So it's
All right,
not-
if we don't have Visit Spokane or SWAC or
Then never mind.
Alt-Q or, yeah.
I'll keep it to myself.
Like SRTC is 2 commissioners.
Yeah.
STA is 2 commissioners. The health district is 3
Okay.
commissioners. So that's why this is set up that way. They try to identify it when it's more than.
So we'll keep it a secret.
It's good to know, it's good to know.
That's where you've been.
Yeah. Oh. So, okay, so January, is there any other additions or deletions? And so we would start with the first meeting being January 6th.
Madam Chair, do you wanna know if we're gonna be out of town or zooming in, that kind of thing at this point?
I don't think cause I think that changes for everybody. I mean, unless you have a set.
I have a couple. I'll be, just FYI, I'll be out of town the 31st to the 13th, but I should be zooming in.
Okay, and I would say, just with what's happened in the world here, that, you may not want to be stating you're out of town.
Okay.
So, you just look at what's happened in the NFL and the NBA and just even around town. If people post on Facebook that they're out of town, that there's a higher risk of the potential break-in.
You got unexpected people visiting your house.
What's that?
So I would just.
I'm not out of town anymore. Who knows where I'll pull up.
Just laying low.
Actually, always home.
Even right now.
We're zooming in right now.
I meant I'll be zooming in from my house.
It's just a virtual representation of where we currently.
Which you have done a number of
Yes, I
times.
have.
Yes, so no, so yes, I'll be zooming in tomorrow myself, but I think it's just, you know, as long as, if you're planning to attend the meeting in any form, I would be worried about it. And even if you're gonna be on vacation sometime, I mean, it's like
Just give you and Scott the.
heads up, because we really wanna make sure we have quorum. That's what we're really trying to make sure, because if we don't have quorum, I don't wanna have staff, you know, being here and waste their time, so. So this is really just to say, here's what we're scheduling out. You know, if people have alternate plans to schedule in, then that's. But we just wanna make sure that this is what's gonna be the official meeting schedule.
Sounds good.
And then it's kind of like, we could just fly in to Olympia, and we change some of our timing, you know, it's just setting that up, so. So in February, if we look at February, we've got the Olympia fly-in. So we would not have a meeting on that Tuesday, that Monday or Tuesday. And then with the President's holiday, we're moving the strategic planning meeting. We don't go too many Mondays without a meeting.
Are we celebrating Valentine's Day in Olympia?
Depends if you stay or not.
Yeah.
And then March.
So, at least the Spokane schools spring break is actually the next week. It doesn't start March 31st. It starts April 7th this year in 2025. So if we were looking to take the spring break off that most school districts, I think, have, it's the 7th through the 11th.
Where are you at?
Oh, I'm just looking at the end of March, beginning of April. Sorry. I saw no meeting at the end of March and I thought, what's going on there? Okay.
Yeah.
If that was what the intent was, is to take the spring break off. It's actually, at least for
Usually it is, because then. it
my
usually
kids' schools, it's the next week.
falls- Usually falls with Easter, that's interesting. Easter.
I think it's always like the first full week of April, maybe, so.
Easter moves so much.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
I don't know what day. I'm not sure when it is. I take a look, but.
They usually try to align them.
Eid is 7th through.
Yeah, I think so. I think most of them are 7th.
So want to flip that? Got that, Gina?
We'll take the 7th through the 11th off, work the 31st and 1st.
Yes.
I'll be zooming in from the 27th until the 13th.
Staycation.
One of my homes anyway.
March 1st through the 4th is the NACO Legislative Conference in DC. I know I'm.
Oh. I don't know if I'll do that, but that's good to know. 1st to the 4th is the week go.
Was that the NACO?
Legislative Conference in DC.
I will have, after legislative conference, or no, SIA legislative conference in March in Olympus, DC too, but I don't know exactly the date yet.
It's in March.
But
I
is
just
it?
got an email today, March 17th. through the
17th to the 20th.
But no one else.
No, just. But sometimes it ends up being.
Okay, so then April will switch those weeks.
Question for you. So on the switch to the 7th, do you want to move the strategic 14th? Or would you like to have a 5th one or a 3rd one in March on the 31st?
Nobody said.
Yeah, that's 31st.
All right.
And more regional, so then May. But yes, I find. I will probably be flying back.
When do the meetings start? Tuesday morning?
Usually
Usually you have to
Tuesday.
fly on a Monday, right?
Yeah.
I'm going, so I won't be here on the fifth.
Usually have to leave pretty early in the morning.
I won't be here on the fifth either.
So I think we should move that. Or not, I think we can just cancel it.
You can always add another strategic meeting.
Good. As an option, back to April, since we're moving the 7th, pick up to the 31st. Could do the 21st and 14th. Then you could have another one on the 28th and then just cancel one on the 5th. We have 2 in April.
Do we want to wait and actually see if we have something to put in that meeting?
Good.
Or we could just try to cancel.
Yep.
That one. Says I hate to move too many, because
Yep.
then it's not consistent.
Cancel May 5th.
Yes.
We're gonna take I mean, Father's Day is on June 15th, so we still taking the month of June off.
Some of us are.
It's just a thought.
When Juneteenth falls on a
Fathers.
Thursday, so
Yeah.
what day is,
So 4th of July.
So is Friday off then? Or-
It's the day.
Oh, it is the
Like
day.
4th of July and
Oh.
Veterans Day, it's the day.
Okay, okay. Wonder if STA gets moved.
I don't.
Exit. I don't know.
I don't know.
See.
Then we'll have the week of July, the worst week of July off. And then the 11th through the 14th is NACO's annual conference. And since I'm on the NACO board, I will be. Other commissions are based on budgets.
The APTA's legislative conference this year is going to be in July too. I'll find out, because that means that both of us might be gone at the same time.
Yeah, and I've got a CF Leads, our last meeting is the 8th and 9th of July, so I'll be gone. With Anovia for those 2 days, so I'm just gonna go back to DC for that, and then Philadelphia for a little while. Yes, so we'll need to coordinate that,
Yeah.
because
I'll find out.
Yeah, sometimes like this last year, the NACO, it was hard to fly back for the Tuesday. So it just depends on the flights, and when it's on the East Coast, it's challenging. So,
that's why sometimes I'll fly back the Sunday, so I can zoom in on Monday,
right,
Tuesdays.
right.
Just depending on how it all works. But yes, but just so you know, the NACO conference is the 11th, and the 14th in Philadelphia.
Bring my leave. That was interesting.
Okay, so
Not
then
great.
that's in July. August, we normally take that last week of July and the first week of August off, our summer recess for those 2 weeks. And September.
The APTA conference is in September. I'll get you the dates, but it won't matter if I can't go.
Yeah, and then we'll just, I think you've added the budget workshops kind of starting in September, correct?
They're already on here.
So just saying, I mean, just take
Right,
notes that
yeah.
we're starting to do every Monday.
Pretty
in
much,
September,
yeah.
September on, then we get the budget.
Yeah.
You can always cancel, if we don't need them, but they're just there.
It seemed to be our cadence this last year is pretty much
We
September,
definitely need-
October, November, having those workshops.
No, Veterans Day is gonna be on a Tuesday. So we have so we have 3 weeks in a row there that. With Wausau, where would Wausau be?
It's here in.
It'll be in Spokane.
So, but we won't have a Tuesday meeting, 'cause usually they start Tuesday. So.
So no Tuesday meeting on the 18th.
Now it's Veterans Day, so we could end up moving, if we need to do a legislative meeting, we could do that on the 17th.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because
3 weeks in a row seems like
that's tough. Yeah. I want to raise that one as.
So why don't we put a 2:00 legislative meeting?
Since it's here, Wausau's in Spokane, we don't have to.
On the 17th.
Travel.
Yes.
And then also try to do a combined briefing morning as well.
Let's turn it to a
strategic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and we could even be part of the budget workshop on the 10th.
Okay.
So just being aware of all that works.
When usually the SRHD meeting moves to the first Thursday of
Yes.
December.
So that's not just, it's, it'll be on the 4th. That's not like Christmas either, because we got, that's our only November, December meeting.
Budget hearing.
Is that December 1st, is that the budget adoption?
That may or be.
Usually it's the first Monday.
First Monday is in the RCW.
So there we go. Yeah, and I think if you've got other dates that you have out, that kind of thing, just maybe send them to Scott. And accumulate, if you can try to just kind of put it in.
You know when your vacation time is gonna be, just get it in there, so.
So we can kind of plan. It will not go on the official calendar, it just goes on the unofficial calendar. But that would be helpful to have before the end of the year, just to kind of lay out some dates. Yes. Figure out. What takes us to our committee assignments. Let's go.
Sorry, Randy just reminded me. We've got to have our levy hearing also in November. And this year we had it last week in November. So.
Right, so it would have been.
You don't have time.
Essentially the equivalent of holding it on Thanksgiving. Help.
Because Thanksgiving.
No,
is so
we did
late,
it on
we
a
had an extra
Monday.
week.
I think we
No,
did
we
it
did
on
it
a
on a
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah,
before
Monday.
Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Special meeting.
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
right.
We had a special meeting the
That's
week
right.
of the
We
Wasatch.
added that.
Yep,
last
it
week,
was.
okay.
It was a week of Wasac, so we could do that as part of the 2:00 meeting as well, having the hearing on the levy.
On the 17th or on the 24th. We could,
Either one. We
I
could do
think,
the 17th.
yeah, I think the 17th makes sense.
Okay.
That's
they need to
basically a week before we're
adjust.
gonna make a decision on the budget. I mean, with the week off.
All right, good. So we'll get the levy on the 17th. You, Randy?
Boards and commissions, let's go down the list. Aging and long-term care.
Happy to keep it. It's a very well-run entity that does a great job and the board supports that.
Very good. Airport board.
It's a very challenging time for the airport board with Larry Crowder leaving, doing the national search. And the mayor is also taking off Jennifer West. So we're losing some of that experience in the airport board. So I currently serve as vice chair and in line to become chair. So appreciate being there another term.
I know this is a 3-year term, but it's always changed. So yeah, there it is. It is a trying time for the airport board. With Larry,
Doing national search now.
Hey, Broadlink Community Board. I'm happy to stay. You want to stay as the alternate, or you want to have somebody else because you've got enough other boards?
I am happy either way.
Okay. Does anyone
Whatever
else
be the will of the board.
be on as the alternate?
What are the, how often do you guys meet?
We meet once a month. You know, and for the most part, I think
You've been able to
attend.
mostly make it work.
Yes.
Just as an observation.
I don't remember having alternates, but it's like.
I don't think so, because on the NEPD in the West Plains, we don't have an alternate either, so that might just have been but last year was the first year we really met, so.
Well, the difference between the broadband and the other PDAs is that broadband is countywide, where the other PDAs are district. And just, that's an observation, not a campaign. But since the broadband is predominantly in the rural areas, it might make sense to have Josh as the alternate on that as opposed to me.
Although we actually have city as large cities and as small cities, right? Because it really is everywhere.
Is it? Okay, never mind
And
then.
it's really looking
I
at
stand corrected.
the assets that are going.
Okay.
You know, 'cause some of the assets are going through the cities that we need for
Okay.
operation on, so. I'm happy if we can appoint an alternate, and if we don't need it, then we don't need it, so.
If you wanna put my name, I'm fine, but I'm not opposed to it. If you wanna stay on,
It-
fine, it doesn't matter. I'm good either way.
I'm
And I-
really good
I'm
either
good.
way.
Yeah, Amber, I mean, anyone, I mean, because it really is a countywide perspective on all of that.
I mean, I'd be willing to be an alternate I'm interested in it. And I think staff there's doing a good job. And so if I can be of help, but it sounds like you've been able to be able, do they allow Zoom into the meetings?
Yes,
Okay.
they do.
No, there's no internet access. That's
That's
the problem.
Well,
You're not paying
gosh.
attention. That's the problem here.
You can only zoom in from certain locations, okay? If you have broadband, okay.
You changing that one?
Amber. And see where we're at. Next time, we want to do a bigger paper. Canvassing board, yeah, that's a chair by statute, so. Chair B. Fair board, ex officio.
That's all.
Oh, it does, okay. Finance committee is the chair by statute. Board Fairchild. I'm still getting to,
I'm happy to stay there, but I don't need to be primary. I can be alternate.
okay, then we'll just leave that one the same, just, that's fine. civic leader coming off, but I'm emeritus now. On the other, GMA steering committee. You want to change?
I should probably stay there for a little bit, because I'm chairing.
Someone got elected chair, so.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
I'll stay.
stay.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Okay. Greater Spokane. And then we talked about 2-year terms. I'm happy to stay, but if. And we will have Alicia come in for the first of the year, so that will be happening. Okay, Hud Settlement Advisory, that's the chair. I'm sorry, my.
That's, yeah, it's under Spokane Regional.
I printed a separate sheet, sorry.
Oh,
Try to keep up, okay?
it's further down the list.
The Industrial Development Corporation, which we say is
Doesn't
inactive.
exist.
Every year we, yeah.
Can we just?
Just scratch it. I don't think it even exists anymore.
I thought a Macio was saying like,
We have to have it.
we have to have it.
Yeah.
If it's needed, it is stood up, and I can't remember what it is that triggers standing it up. I don't know. There's something to it though. I don't remember what the details.
I have notes here that says ACO has it.
I'm
Yeah.
looking it up.
You can report back later. We'll just leave it there. Along the left board,
I'm happy to see it.
Law Library, love to get rid of it. We'll see.
RCW.
We know a lot of legislators. Maybe this is a good little bill that can just change that, that
It's not
it
chair.
doesn't have to be the chair. That it
You're
could
the
just be
logical.
somebody.
Oh, thanks.
Poor Randy
Well, I mean,
has
you're-
been the.
You're an attorney. You read these books.
I've read plenty of it.
For the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Yeah, I've gone to them this year. I'm willing to stay if that's all right.
Martin Hall.
No.
Would really like
No.
to,
No,
be
No.
very interested in coming off of this one and maybe.
You have an alternate, utilize it. Come on.
I have. How come that's the only?
I didn't know it was Barbara. I didn't remember us doing.
You know, I think it's really time for Al to step
No,
up.
it's not.
Step up.
No, it's not.
See if you could get elected
Does it
chair.
have to be elected official?
When you reach what I
was
did.
thinking we could put
then I
Barbara in. Okay.
Commissioner.
Mr. Sparber could be primary. No,
Yeah.
not gonna work, not gonna work.
Okay, so then,
I've been so tough on him. They've been saying, please send Al back, please.
Oh, I'm real sure that they're not saying that.
yeah. Medical Exam Advisory Council.
So, I'm happy to stay on. She just, we just do quarterly updates, but we don't usually meet unless there's a reason to meet. So she just sends out a quarterly update, asks if there's any questions. So I don't know if there's an expectation of meeting, but that wasn't the practice this year.
Yeah, we used to meet every month, but that was when we were
Getting
trying
the
to
new
build the building and
facility.
all that kind of
Okay.
stuff. After we built the building, there's very little reason to meet.
Well, other than that,
They're meeting quarterly. We're not meeting quarterly anymore.
Well, for the first year, nobody knew I was on it, so I didn't get any emails or invitations. This year, I just got a report that she sent out to the advisory board committee last week with updated numbers and some interesting statistics, which I'm happy to forward on around, types of debts.
Yeah.
I mentioned to her that you were on there and stuff, so.
For that.
I think the first year the memo didn't get there that I had joined, so I was like, what? I'm supposed to be on this.
I would say.
I just assumed they weren't
Meeting.
meeting.
Just doing a quarterly report. We just forward that on.
I will. I will forward that right now.
they should at least meet a couple times a year, just to talk about.
So
staffing and what's going
unless
on.
I'm missing an invitation, I'm just getting quarterly updates. So we could check in with Dr.
Yeah, check
Sigmund.
it, doctor. Okay. Let's see. And maybe, Matt, can you look into if it's statutorily required to have the medical advisory council? Or is that an interlocal requirement? Northeast PDA, Josh?
Yeah, I'm willing to continue.
Prairie Spokane? Or 2 seats?
Happy to.
Rail Consortium?
And that's specific to my district. Well, in case you hadn't heard, BNSF just certified the Transload as a certified site for Transload, which is a great marketing tool.
Very good. Solid Waste Advisory Committee,
I'm happy to stay.
Spokane County Campus Security Committee. So that was the chair, but I think they did we change that committee? Ashley? Cameron?
Campus security it has been changed.
So yes, so what happened with the Campus Security Committee? Because there's a resolution.
Yeah, so the resolution was, so there's specific requirements that the courts have a campus security committee. And so the most recent committee has moved back to it being more of a court for the committee, or a committee for the courts, rather than a committee for the entire campus as a whole. There are still requirements for certain county positions to be on the committee. I'm not sure if the commissioners are required to still hold a seat. I will look and let you know if that is still required. So just give me a few minutes, I'll look and then I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, and could you provide an updated resolution number? Because I know that that resolution did change last year.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. So we're gonna put question marks. Spokane County Regional Interlocal Leadership Structure, the Sproles Group. Chair gets to run that, but you're all invited. Saw some assistance on on Friday. No. Amy was on. Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency.
And I'm happy to stay there. I've only chaired it for 12 years.
Oh, okay.
Make it 13.
Record.
Look at 13. Okay, Spokane Regional Health District Board. Commissioner Waldorf is chair. Commissioner Kearns is past chair. Only to do 1 more year. Yes. Then I will be done.
You and I will fight over which position Chris takes.
Exactly.
To be.
But I would like to state, on that, as long as we're talking about appointments, that the state, law is that the appointment for the Native American, position is to come from the.
American Indian Health Commission for Washington State.
So I would like us to, the board to send this board to send another, because we actually appoint people to the board, right? So I would like a letter from our board to go to that association asking for their appointment.
They're one name.
We have done that in the past.
Again,
Right.
My first year here, we did that.
Yes, so we need to, I would ask that we do that again, because I had somebody on another state board that I was just on, kind of call us out that we hadn't appointed anyone. We haven't received one name from that associate, that group. So as soon as we get a name from that group, we're all happy to appoint. But trying to follow the law that was enacted, that it's supposed to be coming from that association to us. So. I don't know that we can get a letter how quickly, but we can do that the first week of January to approve that to send off.
Same one we sent last time.
Same, it's fine,
I'm
the other one.
I'm sure it is, but I
Change
just,
the date.
yeah, I just thought I'd request that today while we're going over this to say that we're happy to appoint whoever they choose to send to us. Because we're not choosing, they're choosing. Spokane Regional.
Go back to the campus security.
Sure.
That does say, a member of the Board of County Commissioners or their designee shall serve as a non-voting ex officio member. Then you can appoint someone to that.
Okay, I think
So even if a commissioner is there, we are non-voting on that now? On the campus safety?
You vote on
Going
anything
like
that
that,
would,
but
they would come to ask.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
and does it have to be the chair?
No, it doesn't have to be the chair.
Okay. Anybody like that committee?
I was gonna nominate Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Scott.
Commissioners, I would volunteer to be on that committee if you'd like me to in Scott's place, just because it does tie in with risk and HR a bit as well. So if you wanted to designate myself, I'm willing to do that.
You're already on the committee though, Ashley?
Not anymore. So the committee members now are the Superior Court Judge, Sheriff, District Court Judge, Spokane City Municipal Judge, County Clerk, Juvenile Court Services Director, Detention Services Chief, County Facilities Director, County Risk Management Director, County Prosecuting Attorney, and County Public Defender. So it's really more of a court focus to align with the requirements that we have for court security. And since we do have actual security already at the county campus, we've peeled out the rest of the campus. So it's really more court focused, which is why I'm not required to be on this committee, but I'm happy to be a designee if you would like.
Okay, happy to have you be a designee. I would just ask that you report back to us. So that way we know what's happening. Just
Okay.
At least, because I don't know how often you guys meet.
Usually it's monthly, but it kind of just depends on what the courts have going on as well, but it had been monthly for a while.
I feel really strong about Scott.
He shouldn't have looked it up so quickly.
I should not have.
You raised it.
I should have left the board designee out there. And the county, it does say also, the county risk management director, Dan, in this case, is responsible for communicating annual and supplemental budget requests back to the P O C C that are recommended by the committee. So there's a link in back to the commissioners. We don't have financial authority.
Right, which is fine. I just feel like sometimes they can get ahead of themselves. So. Right, you know, as we look at budgets and all of that. Okay, so.
I'm fine with Ashley.
Are you fine with Ashley?
And Ashley, I mean, you're at most of our Monday or Tuesday mornings. I mean, following those, can you just give us an update? Just say, hey,
Yep.
this is what happened?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
under miscellaneous. Yeah. Okay. Now,
Regional Law and Justice. Mr. Jordan.
That group has not met that policy subcommittee of SRLJC, so I'm happy to remain on it and check in with Mike and see if there's a desire for that group to convene next year.
okay,
And that's the policy committee as items are recommended for consideration through the Law and Justice Committee would come to the policy committee for an evaluation that the board possibly, so probably would be good to get them at least meeting. I think it was quarterly potentially, but it was as needed.
It's not been invoked.
so SRTC,
Yeah, I'm the only one left for the admin committee because the previous chairs are no longer on the board. Just rolling off chair, but you were there. If I'm not on SRTC, there's nobody on the admin committee as a past chair. Because all the other past chairs are gone.
need to have you back on, and I'm happy to be back on, and Commissioner
I
Kurtz.
think so I dug back, cause I was cleaning out my office like 2 weeks ago, throwing away, and I came across last year's list. Last year's list, grid, says your term does not expire until December of 25.
That's the one I printed. off.
Yeah,
I
and
have
so,
it.
so I went back and looked in the email and found the one Gina sent out, back, last year. And so I think you have another year still, so
Happy to stay on another
Yeah.
year.
I think you're good.
And then we still have, you're the backup, and then
Yeah.
Amber is the second backup.
Third backup.
Okay, STA board.
Rolling off as chair this month, but I'll be on the ops committee. We're trying to find a new CEO.
Yes.
Continuity is probably a good idea.
Okay.
I'd be willing to stay again.
Amber's willing to be the alternate.
The alternate.
I just want to throw out, I do have an interest in STA at some point. I've got 5 Mile and some unincorporated in Fairwood up to Farwell that have relevant STA connections, and just wanted to see if Commissioner Kearns wanted to take Martin Hall in exchange for this. So it's just always open.
I appreciate the offer, but being as the commissioner that serves the largest area of people in the PTBA that don't actually have service, I think that's a voice that's needed around the table.
Would you like to be the alternate versus Amber?
Sure. Go for it.
All right.
Okay.
Both alternates or?
George. So if French or Kern can't make it. So tourism promotion area board. Gosh. Is that?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah.
Um,
That kind of goes along with the lodging tax
Right.
advisory.
U District PDA, Amber.
It's been a good year. We've been doing a lot of planning.
Well, and it's really, it's your
And
district,
there's,
so.
yeah, hopefully there's some movement on that property at the end of the bridge and maybe some pre-design into what could go there on the south side of the pedestrian bridge, so. Exciting opportunities.
I mean, I'm far enough removed. You, Christie, you want to be the alternate if Amber can? Valuable chamber. Mr. Kearns is okay if I,
Yeah, I think since we split the valley, I did a year. You can.
a couple years.
Yeah, so you can go ahead too. I'll throw it back over to you.
Those early 7 AM meetings that you so love.
Lance knows how I feel about it.
Is it Spokane?
Yeah, I'd like to stay on that.
Okay, and then Amber is the alternate still. Okay, that's fine. Wastewater Policy Advisory Board, that's you and I, because that's our.
Yeah.
West Plains PDAs.
Automatic feed from the airport board.
Workforce Development Council.
Yeah, I'd like to stay on that if I could.
Can I just ask on this one, is there an alternate or why is there 2 listed here? Council and consortium?
So the consortium is just a 3-member, it's the commissioner that's on workforce, the Spokane County CEO, I think is it specific, because it used to be Dixon, who was CEO, so maybe it's Spokane County. Is it just
maybe it's
administrator or something, and then the mayor. We only meet once a year and it's to adopt their budget. It's about a 15-minute meeting is all that is. It's just one meeting that's held a year to approve the budget.
And do we have an alternate on that? So if you can't go, another commissioner can go.
I don't think I've missed any of the meetings, but so.
But I mean, it'd still be good.
Yeah.
To have an alternate. In case you're not there.
Yeah. It's usually.
If there is an alternate, I'd be happy to do it.
For the council or the consortium?
Consortium, I don't know if, well, I mean, I guess if,
We're talking for the
if for
council.
some reason I couldn't, go, I assume I can.
Yeah, I think you, would. I think
Yeah.
you would need to have, probably should have an alternate on that one, just in the event.
Just in case, but.
For both.
Yeah. It's always, I mean, I think we do a doodle poll to set the consortium, so it's always, we find a date that works for us for the consortium.
So that, Chris will be the alternate. That is, if you always attend, there's, okay. Okay, so Wasac now has changed up, so,
You should probably sit on the board instead of me.
okay,
I mean, because you're not on the executive committee now anymore, are you?
no, I'm not.
Yeah, so why don't you be the board chair?
And I will be helping with, as we do the executive search again. I'm staying on that committee, so, and as a past president now, you're ex officio, so you're not a voting member.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a,
Strange
what's the
stuff.
point, but it was trying to appease certain counties. So, yeah, so I would like to stay on that if that's.
So that bottom one there, just the.
Yeah, the Wasac.
Wasac CUNY.
We, as our size county gets one automatic seat.
It's my understanding that I'm gonna get reappointed to LSC.
We choose to reappoint you to LSC.
See, that's always so confusing.
We've actually tried to change it so that
Okay, well then, I
each
don't know, I'll
county
be on LSC then.
is,
But the nice thing is it matches up with some of my other boards.
yeah, trying to do that in October, ask counties to do that. But I'm happy to have you stay on LSC this year.
Yep. Thank you.
But it is now changed that we are, for the bylaw, all the bylaw changes and all of that,
Okay.
is that the counties are
Why,
the ones.
why did they have us submit our applications to Wasac then? I had to submit an application to Wasac to be appointed to LSC.
Doing everything we're supposed to yet?
Yeah, no, I had to submit the whole application, everything. And then I talked to Jeff, not Jeff,
Derek,
no, incoming chair,
Rob,
Rob. And I said, well, are you gonna appoint me? And he said, yeah, and stuff. So I just assumed it was the same way.
we were trying to get that change where it's the counties doing it.
Yeah.
Because if two people from the same county apply, then
Yeah.
the board president has to choose.
Yeah.
So we were trying to make it that it should be the counties, making that decision.
Yeah,
So.
either
okay,
way.
We'll keep there. You're still on crap.
Yeah, the 1 year term, that's not right. It's actually a 3 year term.
So we can take off the Wasac exec committee. Yeah. None of us are on that. Launch Northwest, I think Chris and I are happy to stay.
Yeah.
Impact mitigation fund, Spokane Tribe. I'm sorry, I would stay on it this year. I've got, we're meeting in January. We've already done the pre-application.
So the interesting thing is, evidently I'm on the Kalispell mitigation, but they never meet. And so I don't know whether that group even exists or not, but.
You should ask.
Huh?
You should inquire with them and
Yeah,
ask.
I'll find out, but yeah. Then I'm still on.
Not my problem.
Okay, well, there you go.
That gives you the direction you
About
need.
So Tib and FIMSIM, I'm still on. So just as an FYI, I did provide to Lisa Janicki a resignation letter on FIMSIB if they needed to take me off of one of these. So she'd just been sitting on the letter, and so I assume it's gonna go to Rob. I don't know, but of the three, FIMSIB would be the one I'd give up first. I did, yeah.
Okay. That one I can ask and see what's where we're at on that. Maybe resend your resignation letter to Rob.
Yeah, it just continues on from Lisa to Rob.
Right, can you read the letter? to
Oh,
Rob,
sure,
So that
yeah.
way it just prompts him
Yeah.
to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think my term is still 2 more years on FMCIP, but if need be, I get
Right,
off of it
because I think that
sooner.
was part of the request when you
Yeah.
reappointed to CRAP was to not have one commissioner on all 3 committees at FOSAC, so.
Are we done with the list?
Well, is there any other things that anyone is representing the county? Then we are done with the list.
Okay, I just want to throw out an idea for next year of, we have a lot of boards where we appoint a commissioner to serve on behalf of the county. Might be worthwhile to maybe once a month or so, set a brief item on strategic planning, just to kind of check in on our boards and committees and share any updates, that type of stuff. So just an idea.
I think that'd be a great idea, because yes.
Good.
A lot of other, there's
a lot of things
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, yes. Okay. And then what we should have with all of these, I don't know if the spreadsheet continues to have when the dates of where they all meet.
I find it separate, like, each of your, it's, will have, that we can be sent out.
Okay.
And some of them do change, like Visit Spokane, it seems like every other year they're switching to a new time, so.
So, it'd just be good to know, because then if we're gonna try to keep, like, talk about updates, so yes, if you could send that out to the other commissioners somewhere else. Okay.
It's time for lunch.
Might need to come out to approve.
Yeah, we need to do a filing for the, if you want to, do these appointments and have them done before the end of the year, so that your boards that you're on, and your committees know, then you will need to do a filing this afternoon too.
Although, I think we all committed to it, that January 6th,
But some of the boards though need to know before the end of the year, so they know who to invite for January meetings and
based on
stuff.
today, you tell them who to invite. I don't think we're gonna be changing, but if you wanna take it by leave tomorrow, then you just have to put up with public comment.
Yeah, some of them require that, so, yeah, whatever.
Please remind me tomorrow.
I will. Yeah. I guess now 13.
Okay, so then it is 11:55. Anything else to come before the board? Okay, we'll see everybody back tomorrow. So